can receive $1 million in cash as long as I get rejected by the school beauty 99 times. Today was my 98th failed confession, and I was so happy that I scrubbed every men's restroom on campus. Everyone thought I had gone crazy, but they didn't know that if I just got rejected one last time, I would be financially independent for the rest of my life. I rushed without stopping to the floor below the sorority house, knelt on one knee, and shouted, "Chloe, be my girlfriend." Upstairs, the cold and aloof school beauty, Chloe Davis, bit her lip. In truth, these 3 months of me showing up rain or shine had already touched her heart. Her best friend was also urging her from the side. "Stop playing hard to get. If you reject him again, he's really gonna run off." Chloe finally decided to hold out a little longer. She thought to herself, as long as he comes for the 100th time, I'll agree to him in public. But I never had any intention of succeeding. After the confession, I turned and walked away. Ding! $1 million hit my account. I immediately transferred the money to a private hospital. My father was still lying in a hospital bed waiting for the funds. Mission accomplished. I could finally sleep soundly. The next day, the whole school was waiting for my 100th confession. My roommate, Luke, had even prepared a red velvet cake for me to use for the confession and urged me to hurry downstairs. I waved my hand directly. "Confess what? Isn't playing games more fun?" At this moment, Chloe was upstairs waiting for me to appear, waiting from the afternoon until dark. However, she could not see my figure anywhere. She never expected that at this time I was still in the dormitory, happily playing Fortnite. She waited from being sure of victory to being flustered, and finally, she completely lost control. She got my phone number from her best friend. When she called, I was in a group battle with my roommates in the game. Her best friend roared into the phone, "Sean, where the hell are you? The whole school is waiting for you. Chloe is about to agree to you." I stared at the screen and replied, "In a team fight, no time." All the gossipers at school were stunned. Before they could react, the usually cold and arrogant #1 school beauty of Westbrook University actually rushed out of the sorority building like a mad woman, heading straight for the men's dormitory. Looking at Chloe downstairs with re-drimmed eyes, meticulously dressed, the whole school was in an uproar. Everyone was shouting, "Sean, your spring has arrived." And I walked downstairs wearing flip-flops, with only one thought in my heart. Is this school beauty sick? I already got the money. What are you doing coming to find me now? As soon as I walked out of the building, I saw Chloe standing in the dim light, wearing a long pink dress, shy and budding. With this setup, she couldn't be here to actually confess to me, right? Just then, the crisp sound of the system exploded in my mind. Ding! Mission released, Chloe's confession. Option 1. Accept the confession, reward $1 million. Option 2. Reject the confession, reward 1 miracle healing capsule, capable of curing all diseases. I gasped. $1 million plus a delicious school beauty was indeed tempting, but even if I spent all that money on my dad's illness, it could only alleviate ID, wouldn't cure the root cause. But this miracle healing capsule was a life-saving medicine tailor-made for him. For the sake of this capsule, I was definitely going to dish out this nice guy card. The whole place fell silent. Chloe looked at me. The usually cold goddess now looked like a resentful little girl, softly asking me why I didn't come. That pitiful appearance made even me feel a bit moved. That was close, I almost fell for it. If I had agreed, the healing capsule for my dad would have flown away. Chloe's best friend couldn't take it anymore and jumped out to ask why I didn't confess today. But Chloe pulled her best friend behind her, turned pale, and asked me, "Sean, have you given up?" As soon as I heard that tone, my heart was set. That's the flavor. This is the cold school beauty. I took a deep breath, met her burning gaze, and nodded firmly. "Yes, I've given up." The whole scene was dead silent. Everyone thought I was playing hard to get at the last hurdle, but now I was saying I gave up. Chloe turned ash white and asked hurriedly, "Then were those previous confessions meaningless?" I smiled. This was my moment to shine. I lowered my head and said in an extremely deep and magnetic voice, "Meaningful. From the first moment I saw you, I fell in love with you. I had no experience, so I could only use the dumbest method. Whether it was wind or rain or your cold rejection, I didn't care. I just wanted to move you with one confession after another. But until yesterday, you still didn't agree." I paused, my eyes dim. 99 confessions were my closure for my first love, and this 100th non-confession is my closure for myself. Goodbye, my first love. After saying these words, I admired myself. It was perfect. I pretended to be extremely grief-stricken, pulled my roommate who was already stunned by the arm, and turned to leave. Behind me, Chloe came up with red eyes and softly told me to drink less. The onlookers were completely stunned. This reversal was even more exciting than a Netflix drama. That night, the university's anonymous Reddit board exploded. Countless videos from the scene were pinned to the top. On the other side, Chloe returned to her room, dejected, and opened the forum. She flipped through the various gifts I had given her over the past 99 days and watched the videos of me soaked to the bone in heavy rain, and finally couldn't help but cry out loud. She realized that she hadn't just gotten used to my confessions, but had already fallen deeply in love with me. Seeing someone on the forum analyze that I had given up to preserve my last bit of dignity made Chloe panic even more. She felt that I had been emotionally hurt because I was given a major demerit and was drunk yesterday, so she made a shocking decision. She was going to make me a hangover smoothie herself. The great school beauty spent half the night in the dorm, secretly using a prohibited blender to make a smoothie, and even accidentally added a big spoonful of salt instead of sugar. Her friends were stunned. Is this really that noble, cold, and aloof cheerleader goddess? On the other side, My roommate and I finished our late-night burger and were strolling back to the dorm. Suddenly, we saw a massive crowd gathered in the dark below the dorm building. I sobered up instantly. I thought for sure these were Chloe's fanatical pursuers, who heard I had stood the school beauty up and came specifically to ambush me. My roommate, Luke, pushed me away and said righteously, "Brother, run. They'll hold them off for you." I was so moved my eyes welled up. The words "good brother" echoed in my heart, and I turned and sprinted with the speed of a 100-meter dash. Chloe, who had been waiting for over an hour in the middle of the crowd, holding a disgusting hangover smoothie, saw me running away like a coward and was left completely bewildered in the wind. She returned to her dorm and fell into total self-doubt, even grabbing her friend and asking, "If someone confessed to you 99 times, what would you do?" The friend said helplessly, "If it were me, I'd put on a collar, bark twice, and go with him." Chloe actually nodded thoughtfully. "You're right. Being coy is a stumbling block to human reproduction. Where near the school sells collars." Her friends were all having a breakdown. Chloe had completely lost her mind. The next morning, I was still sleeping when my roommate kicked me awake. "Sean, it's insane. Chloe is blocking the entrance again, and she's carrying breakfast." Once I heard that, all sleepiness vanished, and my face was filled with ecstasy. The system mission could finally be completed. My dad was saved. I finished washing up and rushed downstairs, only to find it packed solid. Everyone had given up on going to class just to watch this scene. Chloe was wearing a white dress, and when she saw me come down, she was so nervous her ears turned red. She handed me a bag of bagels, hash browns, and a hot latte, whispering that she didn't know what I liked to eat, so she bought everything. The boys around us let out miserable wails. Hatred of having one's wife stolen is irreconcilable. I took the breakfast and smiled at her, praying frantically in my heart, "Big sister, confess already. My dad is waiting to be saved." Finally, she plucked up the courage, clenched her pink fists, and said loudly, "Sean, I like you. Can we go out?" The whole place boiled over. The school beauty actually confessed. I looked at this shy, stunning girl and took a deep breath. If it weren't for my dad's life, I would have really wanted to agree immediately. But I had no choice. I looked into her eyes with a resolute expression and softly said that devastatingly powerful line, "I'm sorry, you're a good girl." Total silence. Countless WTFs exploded in the crowd. Chloe was stunned. She, the #1 school beauty of Westbrook University, was actually given a nice guy card in public. Her eyes turned red instantly, tears welled up, and she asked me aggrievedly, "Why?" I lowered my self-esteem to confess. "How could you do this?" I suppressed my heartache and replied, "I'm sorry, thanks for the breakfast." She couldn't hold it together anymore, covered her face, and ran back to the sorority dorm crying. Along with the system notification, my mission was complete. The miracle healing capsule was finally in my hands. After Chloe ran back to the dorm, she collapsed on her bed and cried. Her friends were furious and called me to give me a piece of their mind. The one who picked up the phone was my roommate, Luke. Luke unleashed a crazy verbal barrage. "Your Chloe's self-esteem is self-esteem, but Sean's isn't." She felt so aggrieved after being rejected once, but Sean went through this rejection 99 times. "Have you ever considered his feelings?" These words struck like lightning, leaving the entire sorority house speechless. It was true, I had been rejected 99 times and never backed down. What was her one rejection compared to that? Chloe wiped away her tears, and not only was there no sadness on her face, but there was a hint of tenacity and fanaticism. She had completely fantasized a grand drama. "I understand. Sean must be testing me. He confessed to me 99 times, so I will confess to him 99 times. A total of 198 confessions. That is the love of the gods." Her friends looked at her like she was a lunatic. It was over. The school beauty was beyond saving. Meanwhile, I was hiding in the bathroom checking the healing capsule in the system warehouse. My roommate thought I was in there crying in sadness, but in reality, I didn't care at all. With the miraculous medicine, I immediately asked Luke to help me take time off, packed my bags, and headed straight for the train station, preparing to go back to my hometown in the suburbs of Boston to cure my father. While waiting for the train, I was wandering around and suddenly found a long-haired, pretty girl squatting on the ground. She had used a marker to write a line on cardboard, basically saying her luggage had been stolen and she was asking kind-hearted people for travel money. These days, these kinds of scams are all over train stations. A crowd of people surrounded her, pointing and whispering, but no one gave her any money. Initially, I didn't intend to get involved, but the system released a new mission at this moment. Ding. Discernment of truth. Option 1. Help the passerby. Reward a top-trim Volkswagen Phaeton. Option 2. Expose the truth. Reward $1 million in cash. Option 3. Ignore and leave. Improve all abilities. I looked at the options. Since there was a reward no matter what I chose, and I didn't happen to be short of money, I walked up, took a few $100s out of my pocket, handed it to her, blocked the view of the crowd with my body, and deliberately pretended to know her. "Chloe, what are you doing here? Are you okay?" The girl was stunned. She must have been wondering when she changed her name to Chloe, but my move saved her face. I dispersed the crowd, kicked the cardboard away, and successfully obtained the system's reward, top-trim luxury Phaeton. The girl went to the bathroom, changed her clothes, and ran back to find me. It turned out her name was Mia Johnson, a sophomore at Westbrook Medical School. She had fallen asleep in the waiting hall, her luggage was stolen completely, and her driver's license and ID card were gone too, so she couldn't buy a ticket, and she was too embarrassed to call the police. I teased her about being too careless. Just then, the luxury car dealership called me to notify me that the car had arrived and was ready for delivery at the VIP parking lot outside the train station. I took Mia outside the station, and a few people carefully unloaded a brand new, top-trim black Volkswagen Phaeton from a trailer. Mia watched from the side and joked, "Senior, You can afford a car at such a young age. This Volkswagen must cost $70,000 or $80,000, right? I smiled and didn't explain. 70 or 80,000. This was an extremely low-key, luxurious, handcrafted top-trim Phaeton worth over 10 times that. Picking up my first car directly at the train station, the feeling was truly amazing. Just as I was about to drive the luxury car and take Mia away, my phone suddenly rang, and from the other end came the voice of the school beauty, Chloe. Chloe asked me aggrievedly on the phone where I had gone, but I was currently desperate to save my father. I had no mood to flirt with her, so I brushed her off with a few words and hung up. I turned to look at Mia. This girl had lost her luggage and didn't even have money for an Uber back to school. She had the look of someone intending to cling to me. I looked at my watch. Me dad's illness couldn't be delayed. Since it was on the way, bringing her along didn't matter. I didn't expect this Mia to be a total social butterfly. She hadn't been in the car for long before she started joking with me. She pulled her dress up a bit and blinked at me wildly. A long road with a beautiful car and a beautiful girl. Don't you want something unexpected to happen? In your dreams? If something really happened, who knows what would be the one gaining or losing? For every minute I was slow, my critically ill father had to endure 60 more seconds of agony. How could I have any mood to mess around with her? Seeing that I ignored her, Mia fell asleep on the seat after a while. I glanced at her out of the corner of my eye. Her clothes were loose and I hadn't realized before, but this girl was actually quite well endowed. 2 hours later, the car drove into the shabby, old-fashioned apartment district. The gatekeeper saw my car and praised me for having made it. My mom was already looking down from downstairs, her eyes red. It looked like she had just been crying. Seeing me return in a new car, my mom was scared and kept asking if I had joined a gang and done something illegal. I smiled to reassure her, saying it was money I had made from financial investments on Wall Street with a friend, and that the family was rich now. As soon as I entered the house, my mom couldn't hold back her tears. My dad was lying in bed, his face pale, his hair completely shaved off due to treatment. A man in his 50s looking like a little old man. The doctors had said his lungs and liver were all in bad shape, and he was just waiting to die. Without a second word, I took out the pale purple capsule the system had given me and handed it to my dad. Dad, this is a high-tech targeted miracle drug I got from a friend. It cures all diseases. Hurry up and take it. My parents at first thought I had been fooled by some con artist, but my attitude was firm. My dad thought, might as well treat a dead horse as a living one, and swallowed it. Just after he finished, he started breaking into a cold sweat. My heart tightened, but immediately after, my dad let out a long sigh. I feel much better, my chest isn't tight, and my head doesn't ache. Watching my dad's complexion visibly return to a rosy glow, my mom wept with joy. A product of the system was truly a miracle medicine. Just then, my best friend Leo Miller's voice came from outside. He saw my Phaeton at a glance and stood around it smacking his lips. Sean, a top-trim Phaeton. You can't get that for less than $2 million. You made a fortune, kid. I was just about to explain when Mia woke up in the car, stretched, and walked out. Leo's eyes went straight. I was too lazy to explain much, greeted my parents, and said I'd take Leo out to eat something good. Mia, this girl, was completely unreserved and insisted on coming along. Once in the car, she didn't stop, clamoring to go to our high school reunion party that evening. What status do you think you have to go to our class reunion? I said with disdain. I can pretend to be your girlfriend. I love those slapping faces with wealth tropes. Mia gave a mischievous smile and actually stretched her long but clad leg toward my side. Take me with you at worst, it'll let you touch my legs. My scalp tingled. This enchantress, she was definitely a troublesome enchantress. I took them to an old-fashioned Texas barbecue restaurant on the old street that we used to frequent. Just as we sat down, a crisp notification tone sounded in my mind. Mission released. The divine tycoon begins his march into the culinary world. Acquire the restaurant's secret barbecue recipe. Reward, $5 million. I was stunned. $5 million just for buying a recipe? If I don't take this money, I'm a fool. At this moment, the restaurant owner was looking troubled. When asked, I found out that the owner's wife had been in a serious car accident. The perpetrator had fled. The daily intensive care medical expenses were astronomical, and the shop was losing money every day. They couldn't hold on anymore. I seized the opportunity and spoke directly. Boss, I quite like your craftsmanship. How about you sell the recipe to me? The boss was stunned and tentatively quoted a price. $400,000. No, $380,000. Can't go any lower. I shook my head. How about this? He'll give you $500,000. You draft the contract now. He'll transfer a $200,000 deposit first, and the remaining $300,000 will be settled within half an hour. Reverse bargaining? The boss was completely bewildered. He was so excited he became incoherent and hurriedly shouted to the back kitchen. Stella, come out and greet the guests. The curtain was lifted, and a girl dressed simply but purely to the extreme walked out. Leo and I both cursed at the same time. WTF, Stella King. This was the Ice Mountain School beauty of our high school. It turned out she was the boss' daughter. While the boss went to print the contract, Mia looked at Stella's back and leaned into my ear, saying sourly, "No wonder you were in such a rush to go to the class reunion, though her legs aren't as long as mine, and she isn't as pale as me." I rolled my eyes and ignored her. Once the contract was signed, I transferred all the remaining money on my phone to the boss. Almost in the same second, the system tone sounded, "Mission complete, reward $5 million. Looking at the 7-digit balance that had appeared in my bank card, I felt full of confidence. Mia leaned over to look at the text message, her jaw practically hitting the floor, and turned to start flirting with me crazily. "Sean, are you this rich? How about you keep me? Being your sugar baby is fine too. Get lost. Go buy a phone." After eating, I took Mia to a nearby shopping mall. This girl not only forced me to buy her a new iPhone but also dragged me into a women's clothing store. She changed into a black pleated miniskirt, paired it with a white shirt and a black tie, and finally, insanely, put on a pair of black stockings. This standard Ivy League school-style mix looked so good I couldn't help but gulp. Do I look good? She twirled around. You look good, I nodded honestly. After buying hers, she ran to the men's section to pick out an autumn trench coat and a white shirt for me, forced me to change into them, and stood on her tiptoes to tie my tie for me personally. Just as I looked in the mirror, the system sound exploded. Ding. Charisma 10. Reward, 30 of Starlight Group shares. I was stunned. Buying a set of clothes could trigger a reward, and I directly acquired 30 of the Starlight Group, the top chain of hotels locally in Boston. Mia stared at me after I changed clothes, her eyes shining, her breathing becoming rapid as she muttered, "Sean, were you always this handsome?" In the evening, we picked up Stella and headed straight to the Starlight Hotel to attend the class reunion. Once Stella got in the car, her gaze toward me was different. She stared at me for several seconds before looking away. When we reached the hotel entrance, Mia naturally took my arm. Before I could break free, the lights in the hotel lobby popped and went completely dark. "There's a power outage," Stella exclaimed. The next second, I felt a pair of small hands in the darkness grabbing my other arm tightly. Immediately after, two spotlights dropped from the sky. One hit a boy in a white suit holding Rosit was our high school class president, Connor. The other light landed precisely on me. Connor walked over affectionately and dropped to one knee. "Stella, my goddess, my heart for you is witnessed by heaven and earth. Be my girlfriend." All the classmates were watching. The atmosphere was whipped up to the extreme, but I had a head full of black lines. I coughed. "Mr. Class President, such a great gift. I am ashamed to accept it." Connor raised his head violently, looking as if he'd been struck by lightning. Only then did he realize that Stella, who was afraid of the dark, was currently hugging my right arm tightly, her whole body pressed against me. Total silence. Until MIA's impatient voice broke the awkwardness. "Are there any other performances? If not, turn the lights on. I'm afraid of the dark." The lights flashed on. Everyone saw the situation clearly. I, Sean, had my left arm held by the long-legged hottie Mia and my right arm hugged by the Ice Mountain School beauty Stella. With one on each arm, all the boys in the room wanted to tear me to shreds. Connor pointed at me, trembling. He couldn't even speak clearly. At this moment, the system provided a lethal assist. Ding. Mission, Night of Confession. Option 1. Pretend to be Stella's boyfriend and reject Connor's confession. Reward, 1 Oasis Cove Villa. Option 2. Clear the relationship. Reward, $3 million. Option 3. Confess to Stella. Reward, Universal Skills Book. Before I could choose, Mia blew up. "Stella, why are you pulling my boyfriend?" Stella didn't show weakness either, lifting her head to retort, "What about you? Sean is my boyfriend." Boom. The whole place exploded. Connor's face went ash white. He looked at Stella in disbelief. Mia wouldn't let it go, glaring at Connor. "What are you looking at? I'm Sean's girlfriend. So what? Is there a problem?" Ding. Achievement completed. 1 on each arm. Achievement reward, 10 Starlight Group shares. Ding. Mission complete. Reward, 1 Oasis Cove Villa. I was numb. I hadn't said a word, but was forcibly claimed by 2 school beauties. Not only did I get a 10 soft millions level Beverly Hills-style luxury villa for free, but I was now holding 40 absolute control of the Starlight Group. That meant half the empire of this top hotel, where we were having our party, was mine. Connor completely broke down and, in a fit of rage, wanted to rush up and call me a scumbag. My childhood friend Leo fought back directly. "Holding one on each arm is a skill, so what? Do you think you're in the right confessing to someone in front of their boyfriend?" Connor was speechless. He shattered on the spot. I was dragged into the private room by the 2 school beauties. As soon as we entered, bank confetti scattered everywhere. The celebration that was originally prepared for Connor's successful confession was now splashed all over my face. A small cake flew toward me. I could have dodged, but Mia on my left and Stella on my right were pulling me in different directions, so I was smeared with cake on my face on the spot. Surprise my ass. My anger flared up instantly. This was simply a disaster for no reason. Mia and Stella knew they had messed up and hurriedly grabbed tissues to help me wipe my face. I looked cold while rubbing my sore arm and complained, "Are you two planning to tear me apart?" "Childish." Stella looked at me with full of apologies, hesitated for a moment, and suddenly leaned forward and smacked a kiss on my face. The entire class jaws dropped to the floor. The Ice Mountain School beauty, who hadn't even touched a boy's hand before, had actually stolen a kiss from me in public. I was completely dumbfounded and pointed at her, cursing, "Stella, are you sick? Do you think your saliva is a miracle potion, that a kiss makes it not hurt anymore?" Instead of being offended, Stella giggled at my scolding. At this moment, Mia squeezed in, saw the lipstick mark on my face, and completely exploded. "Stella, you're shameless." "No, I want to kiss him too." Saying this, she pouted her lips and pounced on me. "Get out, get out, get out. Are you two both poisonous?" I pushed Mia away, terrified, and bolted out the door, running straight downstairs to the hotel room to shower and change. I happened to run into Connor, who was standing at the door looking dejected. I pointed at the private room with disgust. "You take care of Stella. She's basically a female hoodlum," leaving Connor continuing to be bewildered in the wind. 10 minutes later, I changed clothes and returned to the room, only to find the whole class standing there without touching their knives and forks. The earlier confetti and cake had made the table a mess, and it was impossible to eat. Someone suggested changing rooms, but Connor had hidden far away after his failed confession. He couldn't possibly pay again. Seeing a perfectly good party about to fail, I directly waved to call the waiter. help me open a new private room, and bring another serving of exactly the same food. The waiter said apologetically, "Sir, all the standard private rooms are taken. Now there's only the top floor Supreme VIP #1 private room left." The students gasped. Someone hurriedly came over to pull me. "Sean, you're crazy. Eating in the Supreme VIP room costs at least $200,000. Let's just find somewhere else to manage." 200,000? I didn't even think. Directly pulled out my bank card, black card, and handed it to the waiter. "No password, just swipe." Everyone having a good time is all that matters. The whole place was dead silent. Everyone looked at me as if I were a monster, spending $200,000 on a meal without even blinking. Mia and Stella stood by my side like two guards, their chests held high, as if declaring to the whole world, "Look, this is the man I have my eye on." When we moved to the exclusive elevator to the top floor, the students were completely crazy, shouting Brother Sean loudly. I don't know who started it, but someone shouted, "I think Connor shouldn't be class president anymore. Just let Sean be the new class president. Raise your hand if you agree." Agree. Be class president. Be class president. Outside the VIP room door, Connor, who had originally thought about forcing his way in for a meal, heard the cheers inside, and his face turned green. He paid for the party, his goddess was snatched by me, I stole the spotlight, and now even his position as class president was usurped directly. He gasped and fled the scene like a defeated dog, scrambling away, and I held my wine glass, looking at the two school beauties beside me competing secretly. The peak experience of being a super tycoon, for me, had only just begun. However, the price for this peak experience was that I was toasted in turns by the enthusiastic classmates and was directly drunk into a puddle of mud. After the party dispersed, my childhood friend Leo called an Uber-designated driver to take me back to the townhouse apartment in the suburbs of Boston. In the back seat of the car, I was unconscious from drink, my head resting comfortably on MIA's black-stockinged long legs. Mia, this enchantress, looked at my defenseless sleeping face and actually took out her phone and snapped a photo together. People who had pursued her from childhood until now could line up all the way to Paris, France, but she somehow felt the most comfortable staying with me. Looking at my sleeping side profile, her competitive spirit suddenly got the better of her, and she actually wanted to leave a stamp on my left cheek to firmly cover the trace Stella had left earlier. She held her phone in one hand and propped up my head with the other, puckered her red lips, and leaned in. But at this moment, I, in my drunken dream, turned my head violently to change to a more comfortable position. Click! The photo froze. Mia was completely stunned. This wasn't kissing a cheek. This was a solid mouth-to-mouth. The first kiss of a dignified super tycoon heiress had just been given away in an accident just like that. She bit her lip in shame and anger, her heart beating so fast it felt like it was going to jump out of her throat, but she couldn't bear to wake me up, so she just let me lean on her shoulder, even hoping that time would stop at this moment forever, until a strong beam of flashlight pierced the darkness. "San." Mia was so startled her whole body jumped. She turned and saw my mom standing outside the car with a flashlight, her face filled with an anti-smile, truly meeting the parents. Mia was so nervous her speech stuttered. My mom saw her beautiful appearance and then looked at the dead-drunk me and instantly conjured up 40 seasons of a CW teen drama in her mind. After chatting for over an hour, my mom looked at her watch and slapped her thigh. "Oh my, it's already 1 in the morning. It's not safe for a girl to go home, and staying in a hotel is unsanitary. Mia, you should just stay here tonight." Mia was stunned. The house was so small, there wasn't even a guest room. How could she sleep? My mom smiled and opened my bedroom door. "It's fine. Sean sleeps on the bottom bunk. You sleep on the top bunk. He's drunk like a dead pig. He can't do anything to you." After saying that, she directly stuffed a towel into MIA's hand, pushed her in, and slammed the door shut with a bang. Outside the door, my mom smiled from ear to ear, guessing she had even thought of the grandson's name. Inside the door, Mia listened to my steady breathing, climbed down from the bed with a red face, propped her chin up, and stared at me for a long time. Finally, sleepiness overtook her, and she actually crawled onto me and fell asleep. The next morning, the blinding sunlight woke me up. I hadn't slept off the hangover and only felt a heavy weight on me. I looked down and broke out in a cold sweat directly. Mia, this long-legged enchantress, was hanging onto me tightly like an octopus, her white and red cheeks sleeping soundly. Question: waking up in the morning, a beautiful girl is lying on top of you, and you have already developed a normal morning physiological reaction? What should you do? Waiting online. Urgent. I didn't even dare to breathe, for fear that if this enchantress woke up, I would die of social embarrassment on the spot. But just then, click, the bedroom door open. My mom, holding breakfast, and I had a facetofus encounter. What was even worse was that, at this moment, Mia had her eyes closed and muttered, "Sean, don't move." My mom's pupils instantly shook. The next second, she gave me a firm thumbs up, then tiptoed out and closed the door behind her. I was numb. I couldn't wash myself clean even if I jumped into the Mississippi River. Just then, the phone in my pocket rang like crazy. My best friend Leo shouted on the other end, "Sean, something huge happened. Connor jumped off a building." I sat up violently, and my head banged into Mia, who was still pretending to be asleep. "What's the situation?" "Because his confession was hijacked by me yesterday. Connor committed suicide?" Leo explained hurriedly. "It's not because of the confession. Connor borrowed illegal campus loan shark money to fund yesterday's luxury confession. Now that he can't pay it back, he jumped off the building in a moment of impulse. Fortunately, the floor wasn't high, and he's still being resuscitated at the hospital. But his mother has gone crazy now, and has brought a group of relatives to block the restaurant owned by Stella's family, holding signs, protesting, and making trouble, insisting that Stella forced her son to death. Human life is at stake. I couldn't care less about the embarrassment, wiped my face casually, and took Mia, who insisted on being a tag-along, and drove straight to Stella's house. As soon as I reached the restaurant restaurant door, I saw Connor's mother holding a megaphone, cursing like a shrew. Stella, you little bitch, give me back my son's life. Get out here and go to the hospital to kneel and apologize. The restaurant door was kicked open, and Stella was forced out, face full of tears. Her father was trying his best to protect his daughter, but Connor's mother wouldn't let up and was going to bypass the boss to tear at Stella's hair. Apologize to your mom's ass. I took a step forward, protecting Stella tightly behind me. Connor's mother paused, then began to curse. Who the hell are you to meddle in this? Hit him. Smack. I was not polite, raised my hand, and landed a crisp slap, sending Connor's mother spinning half a circle on the spot. Little bitch this, little bitch that, since you like talking like this, let's change the way we talk. I looked at her coldly. Connor jumped off the building, not because he was rejected in a confession, but because he borrowed illegal loan shark money he couldn't pay back. Your son wasn't capable and took out an online loan. Go find the gangsters who lent the money. He fell on the curb. Why don't you blame the people who paved the road? Coming here to bully a little girl, do you think we're easy to bully, huh? As soon as these words were out, the surrounding neighbors were in an uproar. So it was loan sharks forcing him. Connor's relatives saw this and all surrounded us, each looking vicious. Connor's mother covered her face and screamed, "What does it have to do with you? Catch this little bitch for me." I grabbed the shivering Stella and looked down at them. I'm her boyfriend. How does it not have to do with me? Connor's mother was furious and was about to pounce and cause a scene again. I slapped her backhand, directly sending her falling to the ground. This group saw that I was playing for real, and with the Boston police arriving just at that moment, they instantly deflated. Connor's mother sat on the ground and completely broke down, crying loudly. We can't find the lending company. Connor's surgery costs $100,000. If we can't scrape it together, he'll only be able to be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Looking at her breakdown, I sighed. Although they were unreasonable, they were classmates for 3 years after all, and I didn't want to see Connor crippled for life. $100,000. I looked down at her. I can lend you $100,000 for the emergency. The premise is, put away your disgusting faces and apologize to my girlfriend, whom you just insulted, on your knees. Connor's mother looked at me in disbelief. For the sake of her son's legs, she didn't say a word, knocked her head a few times bang bang bang, and apologized to Stella. I transferred $100,000 on the spot and sent this group of plague gods away. The crowd dispersed, and Stella held my arm tightly, a light shining in her eyes that I had never seen before. The way I had just stood in front of her pushed the boyfriend power to the limit. She leaned into my ear, her voice as thin as a mosquito's. Sean, how about you really be my boyfriend? Let's not pretend anymore. As soon as the words fell, a crisp system notification tone exploded in my mind. Ding. Mission released. Stella's confession. Option 1. Accept the confession, reward $1 million. Option 2. Reject the confession, reward $5 million. Good fellow, a dignified Ice Mountain school beauty is only worth a $4 million price difference? Before I could even complain to the system, Mia, standing by my side, went completely berserk. She lunged forward, grabbed my other arm, and snapped. No way. Sean is mine. Don't you dare come in here talking about first come, first serve. Stella refused to back down. Just a moment ago, Sean told everyone in public that I'm his girlfriend. You little tag-along. Have you no shame? I want Sean. Who cares about shame? Mia lifted her chin and played her trump card. Let me tell you a secret. Last night, I slept in the same bed as Sean, and I even met his mom. Sean's mom loves me. Critical hit. True damage. Stella looked like she'd been struck by lightning, stuttering and unable to speak. I quickly clarified. We didn't do anything. I blacked out from drinking. Stella reacted instantly, sneering in response. Mia, you've been reading too many romance novels. Guys can't do anything when they black out. Even if you slept together, it was just pure talking under the covers. Two top-tier school beauties were bickering and airing each other's dirty laundry over me in public. The group of male students nearby was pounding their chests in frustration, their molars practically grinding to dust with jealousy. Meanwhile, in a top-floor office of a premier consortium in downtown Boston, a dignified young white elite was staring intensely at the surveillance footage on his screen. The video showed exactly what happened last night. Me walking into the Starlight Hotel hand in hand with the two school beauties. Mr. Vance, the secretary reported timidly, last night, the eldest daughter of the Johnson family was right beside this kid. Julian Vance, the eldest son of the tycoon family, slammed his hand on the table and roared, I want all the information on this kid within an hour. Daring to make my fiancé share a man with others. This is a total disgrace. The next day, the gloom at home was completely swept away. After Dad took the system's miracle medicine, not only was he fully recovered, but he had more energy than before, fussing about going back to the restaurant to find work. I tossed the Peerless barbecue recipe which cost me $5 million to acquire onto the table. Dad, working for others is boring. Let's open our own shop and be our own bosses. If we lose money, it's on me. As soon as the old man saw the recipe, he dove into the kitchen with excitement to start RD. Taking advantage of the free time, I drove that $1 million Phaeton and took Mia to the Blue Hills Reservation in the suburbs. Don't you like racing? Hold on tight. I floored the gas pedal, and the engine let out a roar like a wild beast. At a sharp turn, facing a car speeding toward us, I didn't slow down. Instead, I jerked the steering wheel. The tires shrieked against the pavement as I pulled off a perfect, extreme drift, brushing past the oncoming car. Mia turned pale with fear, but a moment later, She was screaming with excitement inside the car. Parking by the lake, I opened the sunroof and lay back. Mia looked at my profile, and suddenly, it went quiet. Sean, I like you. She blushed, her eyes incredibly earnest. Ding. Mission, MIA's confession. Option 1. Accept the confession, reward $1 million. Option 2. Reject the confession, reward $5 million. It was the familiar formula, but this time I didn't make a choice immediately. A magpie landed on MIA's shoulder, and she looked like a carefree elf. I looked at her and subconsciously said the nickname from my heart. Mia, you little enchantress, you really are quite beautiful. Mia smiled and snuggled into my arms like a docile kitten. Sean, I'll tell you a secret, she whispered. Actually, my family is very rich, much richer than you are. And I have to leave. We might not see each other again. A glint of moisture flashed in her eyes. My heart gave a sharp tug. I didn't ask why. Just gently stroked her hair like I was petting a kitten. The car drove very slowly. The sound of $5 million hitting my account echoed in my mind, but I couldn't bring myself to be happy. Mia stood on the passenger seat, leaned out of the sunroof, and laughed wildly into the wind. She sent an iMessage to Stella. I won again this time. I got into Sean's heart before you did. Before I could recover from the sadness of parting, my honest cousin Tom suddenly called, his tone full of despair. Sean, I'm not getting married tomorrow. I was shocked. My cousin had always been great to me, and he and his fiancée Lily were truly in love. Why the sudden change? I floored it to my cousin's house. As soon as I walked in, I saw Lily's eyes red with frustration, while her parents sat high and mighty in the living room, sneering. After asking, I found out that the mother-in-law had changed her mind at the last minute. She was not only demanding a $300,000 wedding trust sponsorship fee, but also insisted on a top-tier luxury car, as the wedding care explicitly stating it could not be a second-hand rental. With the wedding tomorrow, it was a clear sign they looked down on my cousin and were deliberately making things difficult to sabotage the marriage. What's so hard about that? I stepped forward. Uncle, Aunt, I'll handle the car. I guarantee it won't be from a rental company. They'll take you personally to pick it out. How about that? The mother-in-law sneered and got into my Phaeton. Along the way, she was still sarcastically making jabs. Oh, the interior of this car isn't bad, must be about $20,000, right? Mia, in the passenger seat, was holding back laughter so hard her stomach hurt. The top trim, $1 million Phaeton being called a $20,000 piece of junk V-wear taste was truly something else. Half an hour later, I parked the car in front of the Maserati dealership in Boston. Everyone was stunned. A sales assistant greeted us enthusiastically and first introduced a $100,000 Ghibli. The mother-in-law shook her head, her face full of disdain. Then, the sales assistant took us to an imposing quattraport. This quattraport version, selling price $200,000. The mother-in-law's eyes went wide, and she was practically drooling. The father-in-law turned to look at my cousin and said smugly, as long as you can borrow this car for the wedding tomorrow, we agree to this marriage. Cousin Tom's face turned ash-gray. A $200,000 luxury car, where would he borrow that? And even if he found one, who would dare lend it to them? Just when everyone thought the marriage was off, I walked up to the sales assistant and asked calmly, is this car in stock? Can it be driven away today if the paperwork is finished? The sales assistant was stunned for a moment, then nodded quickly. Yes, as soon as the payment is made, it can be driven away. I nodded, pulled a black bank card from my pocket, and under everyone's dumbfounded gaze, slapped it on the table nonchalantly. Swiped the card. This car I'm paying in full. Total silence. The air seemed to freeze completely at that second. My cousin was stunned. The mother-in-law's jaw hit the floor, and even the sales staff looked bewildered, thinking they had misheard. Everyone thought I was joking, but a few minutes later, when the sales assistant respectfully handed the purchase contract to me, everyone's gaze toward me changed. I stuffed the contract directly into my cousin's hands. Sign it. I'm gifting you this car as the wedding car for tomorrow. Gifting it to me? The pen in my cousin's hand dropped to the floor with a clatter. That was a $200,000 super luxury car. Something an ordinary person couldn't even touch the steering wheel of after working for 10 years, and I was just giving it away. When the mother-in-law heard this, the wrinkles on her face blossomed into a flower instantly, and she nodded repeatedly, saying she was satisfied. My cousin was an honest man and wouldn't accept it, so I stiffened my face. We're family. Is it strange for a younger brother to give his older brother a car? If you don't take it, you're slapping me in the face. Seeing my overbearing attitude, the parents-in-law changed their tune quickly. Not only was the marriage back on, but they didn't even mention the $300,000 trust fund, saying only that as long as their daughter was happy, it was enough. Sure enough, in a capitalist country, as long as your money power is sufficient, all rules can be shattered. With my cousin's wedding handled, I returned to the car. Mia, the long-legged enchantress, suddenly looked at me with deep reluctance. Sean, let me be your girlfriend for one day, just today. I froze because she then told me she was leaving tonight and we might never meet again. I didn't hesitate. I interlaced my fingers with hers and took her to Newbury Street, the most bustling street in downtown Boston. That night, she didn't have her usual troublesome enchantress vibe, acting instead like a girl experiencing her first love. She dragged me to eat at a roadside hot dog stand, bought couples baseball caps, and even in a clothing store, couldn't take her eyes off a set of super cute baby outfits. Watching her look on with longing, only to let them go with a dejected sigh, I waited until she wasn't looking and secretly texted my childhood friend Leo to come over and buy everything we had looked at. Midnight struck, the bells of the district tolling right on time. This meant her status as Oneidy girlfriend was about to expire. At that exact moment, the lights on the entire street suddenly dimmed. Immediately after, the Prudential Center Boston's highest landmark erupted into dazzling light. Large LED screens began scrolling text, 3 days. That's the time I've known you. From now on, be happy every day. Passers-by on the street were stunned, because booking this building for a confession burns money every single second. The building screen finally settled on a few words. Mia, I love you. Mia stared at the building, tears instantly streaming down her face. She dove into my arms, sobbing uncontrollably. But it wasn't over yet. With a loud bang, incredibly stunning electronic fireworks erupted in the night sky. They shone for 3 full minutes, finally merging into the message. Mia, be happy and joyful forever. The girls nearby shrieked in envy. Mia held me tightly, hitting my chest with her small fists. You promised to make me happy. Why did you make me cry like this? I didn't speak, just quietly wiped her tears. At this moment, my childhood friend Leo ran over, drenched in sweat, carrying big bags of gifts, everything I had secretly bought. Mia looked at the gifts and cried even harder. She suddenly stood on her tiptoes and gave me a deep, soulful kiss on my lips. I'm really leaving. She turned and disappeared into the sea of people, leaving only a faint fragrance on my clothes. I sat on the bench, feeling a sense of loss. Leo panted nearby. Sean, your cost for picking up girls is too ruthless. This 3-minute landmark building confession plus fireworks burned $250,000. I smiled. Money in the system, isn't it just there to be spent? I left the remaining $300,000 balance ID prepared on Leo's card, and the remaining $50,000 plus was for hiring him as my private chauffeur. Leo initially wanted to refuse, but thinking of his family's difficulties, he eventually called me boss with redrimmed eyes. Just after getting rid of that kid, my phone rang. It was the other Ice Mountain School beauty, Stella. She didn't know where she saw the video of the landmark building confession, but the jealousy in her voice could overflow the screen. Sean, such a romantic confession was that for Mia? Damn it, that enchantress got there first again. You two aren't in a hotel room bathing right now, are you? I rolled my eyes and hung up directly. The next morning, I took Leo to attend my cousin's wedding. Not long after we sat down, Chad, a show-off at our table, started making trouble. This guy had pursued a girl back in the day, but the girl said she liked me, and he had held a grudge ever since. Today, he had just picked up an entry-level BMW 3 Series, slapped the keys on the table, and started acting sarcastically. Oh my, some people really are thick-skinned. Cousin's wedding, and you don't even bring a gift or a check, just showing up empty-handed to mooch off the food. I, Chad, look down on these kinds of people the most. I didn't even look him in the eye. I had gifted a $200,000 Maserati Quattraport as a wedding car. Did I need to broadcast it everywhere? Getting angry at a clown like this was beneath me, but I didn't expect the wedding ceremony to begin right then. Cousin Tom gave a speech on stage, his voice trembling with excitement. Today, the person I want to thank the most is my cousin, Sean. If it weren't for him, this wedding wouldn't have been possible at all. The eyes of every guest turned toward me instantly. Chad muttered sourly on the side, thanking him so hard, yet not even giving a gift. I ignored him and stood up to wish my cousin a happy marriage. But just as I sat down, a figure that would drive all the boys in school crazy headed straight for our table. Chloe, the cold, aloof cheerleader captain who had asked me to confess 99 times. It turned out she was my sister-in-law's cousin. For the past few days, she had been waiting like a husband watching stone under the men's dorm, but I had run back to my hometown. When she saw me looking down playing Call of Duty Mobile, without even looking up, she slapped my shoulder in anger. Sean, you still have the mood to play games. I turned around and was stunned. Chad, who had been trying to strike up a conversation with his BMW keys, realized that this fairy-level beauty was actually here for me. His mouth twitched, and he went completely blank. Chloe sat down beside me, and the eyes of the whole room were instantly drawn to us. Chad sat across from us, feeling what it meant to be on pins and needles. Just when everyone was curious about our relationship, Chloe stood up, produced a bouquet of flowers like magic, and looked at me affectionately in front of all the guests. Sean, I like you. Can you be my boyfriend? Clang. I don't know whose fork dropped onto their plate. Dead silence. Chad was jealous to the point of being unrecognizable, and the boys present felt their hearts shatter. A dignified Ice Mountain School beauty, actually chasing a guy in public? Just then, the system notification in my mind exploded. Ding. Mission, Chloe's second confession. Option 1. Accept the confession, reward $2 million. Option 2. Reject the confession, reward 110x cashback card. Cashback on all consumption within 1 hour? That meant if I spent 10 million, the system would give me 100 million. This reward was heaven-defying. I took a deep breath, looked at Chloe, who was full of anticipation, and said lightly, I'm sorry, we can't be together yet. Boom! The whole place erupted. Everyone looked at me like I was a lunatic. The cold school beauty actively chasing you, and Youthy Heller rejecting her in public? Is this even something a human would do? Even more absurdly, Chloe, having been rejected, didn't turn cold. Instead, with a beaming smile, she shoved the flowers into my hands. That's okay? These flowers are for you. Remember, this is already my second confession. After saying this, she acted like an obedient kitten, grabbed my arm, and leaned her head on it. The boys around were completely broken. Where was the Ice Mountain goddess anymore? This was the ultimate ultimate, invincible, #1 liquor. Chad looked at this scene, wishing he could find a crack in the ground to crawl into. The wedding banquet began, and the cousin and sister-in-law toasted each table. Naturally, with the elders present, it wasn't my turn to show off, but the bride's parents, the mother-in-law and father-in-law, who had made things difficult for my cousin, actually ran over with champagne specifically to toast me, smiling broadly and asking me to please take care of them. This scene left everyone at the table stunned. Everyone began inquiring about what kind of divine background I had. Not long after, an explosive piece of news spread that $200,000 Maserati wedding car outside was actually something I had bought in full and gifted to my cousin. Chad heard this news and refused to believe it even if he died. He forced himself to save face, brainwashing himself frantically. Impossible. I saw the junk car he drove. It's just a $20,000 VW. How could someone driving a $20,000 car afford to gift a $200,000 luxury car? My best friend Leo stood up and glanced at him with a sneer. That's called a Phaeton, you redneck. As soon as he finished, everyone at the table grabbed their phones to check. 2 seconds later, everyone gasped and looked at Chad jokingly. Found it. It really is a VW Phaeton, and it's a hand-customized top-trim model, priced at over $2 million. The whole place was in an uproar. Chad's hand trembled, and his fork dropped again. His entry-level BMW 3 Series, which he was still paying off, couldn't even be considered a tire compared to my low-key million-level Phaeton. At this moment, Chad completely understood what dimensional reduction strike felt like and shut his mouth in a dejected stupor. The banquet was almost over, and feeling stuffy inside, I pulled Chloe out of the hotel. As the night breeze blew, I stopped and looked at her, still holding my arm, and said earnestly, "Chloe, actually, you don't have to keep confessing to me." Chloe froze, her smile instantly stiffening. Why? Better a short pain than a long one. I looked directly into her eyes. Because I already have someone I like. These words struck like a bolt of lightning, leaving Chloe's brain completely blank. She stared at me in disbelief, her voice trembling. "Ew, you're not joking, are you?" In these few short days, my mind had been filled with that long-legged enchantress Mia. I shook my head, not joking. My rejecting you isn't playing hard to get. Chloe's breathing quickened, and her eyes instantly turned red. She never expected that she, a dignified top-tier school beauty, would set aside all her pride to chase a guy, only to have her rear stolen by someone else. She bit her lip hard, fighting back tears, trying to retain her last shred of dignity. "Can you let me meet her?" I smiled bitterly. "I don't know where she is either." This sentence became the final straw. She thought I was making up a reason to brush her off, and all her self-esteem was completely shattered at that moment. "I'm sorry. I'll go now." Chloe let go of my hand violently, tears bursting forth as she turned and bolted into the vast night like a mad woman. Watching her broken figure depart, my heart tightened, fearing the girl might have an accident in the middle of the night, so I quickly sprinted after her. But I never expected this girl's thought process to be so far from ordinary. She squatted in the corner of the street, crying her eyes out, taking out her phone and intending to delete the videos of my 99 confessions. But as she watched, she suddenly pressed the pause button. She suddenly remembered that when I rejected her just now, the line "I don't know where she is either" it was exactly the same line I used to reject her during my second confession. Word for word. Chloe slapped her thigh violently, and the tears on her face dried instantly. She frantically fantasized. "Why am I so stupid? Sean doesn't like anyone else. He's using my old lines to test me. He's checking to see if I cared enough about his past confessions." The girl not only stopped crying but became energized as if she'd been injected with stimulants, vowing to win me back. But just then, a BMW pulled up to the side of the road. Getting out of the car was the show-off, Chad, whom ID stomped into the ground at the wedding banquet earlier that day with my $2 million Phaeton. Not only had I slapped his face, but Chloe had called him ugly in public earlier. Alcohol-fueled, he saw Chloe alone, squatting on the ground and unable to stand up, so his evil intentions flared up. He pounced with a sinister grin. "Don't you think Sean is handsome? I'll make sure he wears a green hat today. Help!" Chloe screamed in terror. Just at this critical moment, with a dull thud, I flew in from behind and kicked Chad 3 meters away. The guy tried to get up and fight back, but my pent-up fury exploded instantly. I charged over, pinned him to the ground, and unleashed a ferocious beating, hitting him until his own mother wouldn't recognize him. The Boston police arrived quickly. Checking the street corner surveillance and collecting evidence on the scene, Chad was not only suspected of harassment, but was also a full-blown drunk driver. What awaited him was a long prison term. That BMW 3 Series he was making payments on, he could forget about ever driving that again. After finishing the record at the police station, Chloe insisted on dragging me to the Boston Medical Center to treat the bruises on my face. While applying medicine, she sobbed in heartache, then suddenly grabbed me. "Sean, I'm sorry. I didn't cherish your confessions before, but now I understand. I will work hard for our love." I was completely numb. "Sister, what our love? Didn't I explicitly tell you I had someone I like? What on earth are you misunderstanding?" The next morning, I was still dreaming when Mom banged on my bedroom door, her voice suppressing ecstasy. "Sean, hurry up, that pretty girl from yesterday is here." My scalp exploded. I grabbed a shirt, threw it on, and opened the door. I saw Chloe standing outside my house, red-faced, clutching a cashmere scarf. The neighbors were all peeking, drooling with envy. "Sean, winter is coming to Boston. Let me put it on for you." She leaned in shyly, stood on her tiptoes, and wrapped the scarf around my neck. Looking at her pitiable, lovable appearance, I couldn't chase her away in front of the neighbors, so I could only lead her inside. When Mom saw this, her eyes shone brightly. She pulled Chloe onto the sofa and started checking her family background. It was the quintessential mother-in-law looking at a future daughter-in-law. I was chased back to my room by Mom, worrying about the Chloe's third confession task the system had just released, when a little head poked in from the window. Sean, surprise, WTF, Stella, the Ice Mountain School beauty. Not only was she here, but she was also carrying bags of expensive gifts for my parents. When Mom saw yet another fairy-level girl, her eyes almost popped out. She turned and glared at me fiercely, which meant, "You little brat, your peach blossom luck is too wild." When Chloe, just coming out of the bathroom, bumped into a grinning Stella in the living room, the air seemed to freeze in that second. Two top-tier school beauties stared each other down. Even though they were smiling, I clearly heard the crackle of sparks in the air. Both of them cursed in their hearts at the same time. "Bitch, my home was stolen." Stella took the initiative, acting sarcastically. "Hello, I'm Sean's high school deskmate." Chloe refused to show weakness and gripped my arm tightly. Seeing the smell of gunpowder getting thicker, I quickly used school as an excuse, grabbed one with each hand, and bolted out the door like a refugee, leaving the mess to my stunned mother. Getting into the car driven by my childhood friend Leo, the war in the back seat finally began. Chloe mentioned the scarf she gave me today with pride. "Sean, do you remember what you gave me when you confessed to me the third time?" I shook my head, and she raised her chin proudly. It was a scarf too. Stella, listening beside her, was completely dumbfounded. "What? Sean confessed to her 3 times. Stella was of a very high level. She took a deep breath, suddenly switched to a smiling face, and grabbed Chloe's hand. "Since you didn't agree after Sean confessed to you so many times, that means you're just ordinary classmates, right? Little Chloe, since we're all friends now, can you teach me how to chase Sean?" This retreating to advanced strategy was absolutely lethal. Chloe was choked up and couldn't speak, glaring at me angrily. The car drove to Copley Square in downtown Boston. Leo went to handle his resignation procedures, and I took these 2 aunties, who could fight at any moment, out for some air. In the square, a buskier was playing a guitar. Stella's eyes lit up, and she grabbed my arm and acted like a spoiled child. "Sean, you go up and sing one. I remember you sang so well in high school." Chloe, hearing this, joined in the teasing. I originally wanted to refuse, but a crisp ding sounded in my mind. Mission released, the Songa journey of a high-quality boy. Option 1. Accept the mission and sing a song in front of everyone. Reward voice control ability 20. Option 2. Reject the mission. Reward voice control ability 2. Why reject a reward delivered to my doorstep? I walked over and scanned the QR code to transfer $1,000 to the buskier. The guy saw the payment notification and was so excited he almost knelt down to me, handing me the guitar without a second word. I strummed the strings randomly, and the system directly imprinted Coldplay's Yellow into my mind. I leaned into the microphone, and a lazy, soulful voice instantly spread across the square. "Look at the stars. Look how they shine for you." Just with the intro, the bustling pedestrian street quieted down instantly. Passers-by stopped, and the buskier was so shocked he sprayed the water head just taken. This melody, this voice beat was a dimensional reduction strike. "And everything you do, yeah, they were all yellow." When I reached the chorus, Chloe was already a teary mess. In the girl's fantasy, every word written in the lyrics was a true depiction of how I had skipped classes and waited bitterly under the sorority building to confess to her time after time. Those humble secret loves and the waiting soaked in the rain were like knives stabbing into her heart. As the song ended, thunderous applause broke out. I had just put down the guitar when Chloe pounced into my arms like a swallow, clutching my waist tightly, her tears soaking through my hoodie instantly. She sobbed while shouting, "Sean, I understand your heart now. Let's be together now, okay? I like you so much too." The crowd of onlookers went wild with cheering, and Stella in the distance stomped her feet with jealousy. But at this moment, the system in my mind calmly popped up options. Ding! Chloe's confession special. Option 1. Accept the confession, reward charisma 3. Option 2. Reject the confession, reward charisma 10. How could falling in love compare to charisma points? I didn't hesitate to choose rejection. I patted her little head, pushed her away gently, and gave a tender, evasive answer. "Don't cry, there are so many people watching." Perfect avoidance of her confession. The buskier ran over excitedly to ask for my cover authorization, taking the opportunity to airdrop the recording to the 2 school beauties who were grabbing for it. On the way back to school, Chloe and Stella each wore an AirPod. Looping the yellow cover I sang. The 2 peerless school beauties, who were like water and fire, were now surprisingly quiet, leaning on my shoulders on the left and right, sleeping sweetly. The men passing by watched with wide eyes, wishing they could chop me into thousands of pieces with their stares. Just as I was enjoying this brief peace, the system's notification tone broke the silence again. Ding! Mission released, the path of self-reliance for a high-quality tycoon. Use existing financial power to earn $5 million in net profit. Reward, future 1-year city planning map of Boston. I was energized. This was a city planning map for the next year. Once in my hands, it would be clear where buildings would be renovated and where new subway lines would be built. This was an infinite ATM. But the problem was, as a half-baked economics student, where was I supposed to get $5 million in net profit? Leo drove the car to Westbrook Medical School first. I pushed awake Stella, who was drooling on my shoulder. "Hurry up and get out. You dirted my new clothes." Stella wiped the drool from the corner of her mouth, not angry at all. Instead, she gave a sly smile. She opened the car door, and just as she was about to get out, she suddenly turned back and planted a loud smack kiss on my face. "Remember to come find me." She left a trail of bell-like laughter and departed gracefully. I had a face full of black lines, wiping the lipstick mark, but this scene was seen by countless students at the school gate. In a few minutes, the medical school's anonymous forum crashed cold. Ice Mountain School beauty Stella rides in a mysterious VW luxury car back to school and gives a goodbye kiss. Countless boys who had a crush on her let out pigs laughtering wails in their dorms. After dropping Chloe off, I took my newly hired exclusive chauffeur Leo and ran into some of the guys from my dorm. The brothers recognized Chloe sitting in my car instantly, surrounded me tightly, and insisted on making me pay for a huge meal. We arrived at a barbecue stall we often frequented by the street. After ordering, the brothers looked at the menu and gasped, "WTF, this price inflation is too outrageous. $12 used to fill us up. Now, even a small Uber Eats delivery fee and packaging fee is $7 or $8. The barbecue stall owner sighed helplessly. Everything is rising. Inflation. Roommate Luke complained frantically on the side. You guys don't know how profitable food service is now. Look at this meat on the skewer. The cost is only a few cents, but once you put it on a stick, you can sell it for $2. Especially delivery platforms, the profit is high enough to scare you to death. The speaker had no intent, but the listener did. I looked at the bustling college town food street, my brain running at high speed. I happened to have a Peerless Barbecue secret recipe ID bought for $5 million. Opening a Texas-style barbecue buffet would not only save on labor, but also allow these college kids to experience the fun of DIYing their own food. To hit on girls, it was a dimensional reduction strike. My childhood friend Leo was extremely reliable, handling the shop, checking real estate documents, and suppressing the rent all in one go. I waved my hand, dumping $1 million startup fund into his card. Within 3 days, I want to see the new shop renovated. I was spending money like water for my career here, unaware that my lovable little enchantress Mia was experiencing the darkest moment of her life. In the dead of the silent night, her biological mother had confiscated all her communication tools and placed her under house arrest in a luxurious villa bedroom in the wealthy Boston suburbs. The Johnson family business capital chain had broken, and to maintain her life of luxury, her mother was cruelly forcing her into an arranged marriage with Julian Vance, the notorious playboy young master of the Vance family in the East Coast circles. Her mother even pointed at her nose and cursed. What do you think that poor brat Sean can give you? Can love be eaten? Do you want to waste away into a haggard wife in a 10-square-meter basement with him? Mia stared hopelessly at the photo of me she had secretly taken on her phone, her tears soaking the pillow as she murmured in despair, "Sean, where is our savior?" At the same time, the Ice Mountain School beauty Stella of the medical school also had a sleepless night. She listened to Yellow That I Sang, her brain filled with that late night in her sophomore year when I took on a group of street thugs alone to save her, ending up bloodied. It was clearly me who knew Sean first. Why should he not even want me when I'm chasing him? She bit her silver teeth in frustration. But the broken hearts of these two school beauties were all shattered by another woman who could be called the king of efficiency. Early the next morning, the fraternity dorm building suddenly erupted with pigs laughtering wails. WTF. Chloe, the big school beauty, stormed into the men's dorm. Brothers, fold the quilts, hide the smelly socks, spray the cologne on me. My roommates were frantically tidying up and dressing up like madmen, attempting to catch the goddess' attention. I was groggily wearing big boxer shorts when the door was pushed open with a bang. Chloe, dressed in a light blue dress like a fairy descending to earth, had actually duped the dorm manager into becoming her godmother and was standing triumphantly in front of my bed. "Sean, morning." She only had eyes for me, not even looking at the roommates who had sprayed half a caddy of cologne on themselves. "Bullshit, if you didn't come, I'd definitely still be sleeping." I had a bit of morning crankiness and retorted unkindly. The boys watching in the hallway gasped, wanting to chop me into pieces on the spot. This was the cheerleader goddess that no boy in the school dared to profane even in his dreams. "You actually resent her for disturbing your sleep." Even more infuriating, Chloe wasn't angry. Instead, she lowered her head shyly like a wife who had done something wrong. "I'm sorry, I disturbed you." "Then I'll wait until you wake up to come over." My brothers in the dorm felt their morale collapse. Roommate Luke drew the bed curtain in despair, refusing to see more. Chloe came prepared this time. She took out a flute from behind her back, a confession gift I had randomly given her in the past, though the original owner had no idea how to play it. For the sake of this fourth confession, she had actually stayed up all night to painstakingly transcribe the sheet music for Yellow and mastered it as a special talent. The flute melody was melodious and ethereal. The boys in the entire dormitory building were sprawled against their doorframes, listening, completely intoxicated. When the song ended, she tugged at the hem of her skirt with both hands, raised that exquisite, flawless face, and looked at me with eyes brimming with tenderness. "Sean, I like you. Will you be my boyfriend?" Ding. Chloe's fourth confession. Option 1. Agree, reward 1 million. Option 2, reject, reward the super vitality serum which enhances physical fitness. Why settle for dating when you can get stronger? Without hesitation, I ruffled her little head. "I'm sorry, we aren't a good fit." "That's okay." Chloe's eyes curved into crescents, happy as a cat that had stolen some cream. As long as I didn't use the "I have someone I like" line to reject her, she remained convinced that I was just testing her. I casually swallowed the serum the system had issued. Immediately, I felt a surge of vitality coursing through my blood. My strength felt off the charts. I took her to the school cafeteria for breakfast. As soon as we sat down, the eyes of the entire cafeteria shone on us like searchlights. Chloe, shy, kept her head down, taking tiny bites of the cold bagel in her hand. I couldn't stand it anymore. I walked straight to the window, bought a freshly baked, steaming hot pancake roll, tore off a small piece, and commanded in a domineering tone, "Open up." Chloe's face turned red to the roots of her ears, but she obediently opened her cherry-red lips slightly. I personally fed the hot pancake into her mouth and lightly grazed the tip of her delicate nose. Getting used to being spoon-fed isn't a good habit. Eat it yourself. At this moment, the entire cafeteria fell into a dead silence. Then, it erupted into desperate wails. Imnump. Why did I come to the cafeteria early in the morning to eat dog food? That's my unattainable dream goddess, actually opening her mouth in public to beg to be fed. You've gone insane. Sean, you dog. You're not acting like a human. After feeding the school beauty, I felt refreshed and went to meet Leo to interview employees for the barbecue shop. When a high ponytail, capable-looking, top-tier beauty handed me her resume, the system suddenly issued a harsh alert. Mission released. Cultivation of a career woman special. Target. Sherry Johnson, cold-hearted talent from the business school. Keep her, and the new store opening will receive the heaven-defying grand opening buff, guaranteeing a minimum of 2,000 customers in the first week. My eyes lit up. 2,000 stable customers. This was practically the system handing me money on a silver platter. 7-day internship, monthly salary of 5,000. Start as a cashier and accountant tomorrow. I made the decision instantly. Sherry frowned with caution. Seeing I was young, she thought I was a scammer using job postings as a front to keep a college student as a mistress. I immediately flashed my Westbrook University student ID, and only after much persuasion did I manage to dispel her doubts. Leo, standing next to me, looked at me with a complicated gaze and warned me earnestly, "Sean, you've already got Chloe, Stella, and Amia. Don't go messing with this Sherry. Leave some living space for the brothers." I rolled my eyes. "Buddy, I'm doing missions and building a career here. What the hell do you know?" Preparations for the barbecue shop were in full swing, and in a blink, the next day arrived. I went back to school to pick something up, and just as I reached the school gate, I saw a familiar figure. Chloe was standing there, pale, clutching her stomach, sweating from the pain with every step she took, while tightly gripping a bag of hot coffee. I saw through it instantly. It was that time of the month for her. "You dare run around when you're in this much pain?" I was instantly furious and strode over. "I'm a bit hungry." She raised her head, aggrieved. Seeing my fierce expression, not only was she not afraid, but a hint of sweet, smug joy flashed in her eyes. "Sean cares about me. Don't toi anymore." I didn't care to listen to her nonsense. I bent over, slipped one hand under her knees and the other behind her back. Under the stunned gazes of the entire school's faculty and students, I hoisted the cold school beauty into the air and gave her a standard, domineering Princess Carrie. "Hold on tight." Chloe let out a surprised cry and instinctively wrapped her arms tightly around my neck. Her face instantly turned as red as a ripe apple, too shy to meet anyone's eyes, burying her scorching cheeks deep into my hoodie. "Sean, what are you doing? There are people everywhere." Her voice was as thin as a mosquito's. "Carrying you back. By the time you walk back to the sorority, it'll be dark." Feeling the surging power brought by the super vitality serum inside me, I held a full-grown person without even catching my breath. I ignored the protest of the men's dorm manager, resolutely turned around, and carried her straight into our men's dormitory building. Along the way, countless single dogs preparing to go out and play Call of Duty dropped their jaws to the ground. Am I seeing things? Sean is carrying Chloe into the men's dorm. This is a damn Princess Carrie. I'm going to kill him. The hatred of having one's wife stolen is irreconcilable. I kicked open the dorm door and placed Chloe directly onto my clean, tidy single bed. As soon as she touched the bed, she dove into my quilt like a fish starved of oxygen. She greedily took a deep breath. The quilt was filled with the scent of my cologne. Her face grew even hotter, and her mind began frantically fantasizing about all sorts of rated scenes, causing her to giggle like a fool under the blanket. "Stay still." I glared at her, turned around, and headed downstairs to the communal kitchen on the first floor. I used cocoa powder and ginger ID bot to brew a large, piping hot cup of hot ginger cocoa by hand. When I returned to the dorm with the hot cocoa, she was obediently pressing a hot water bottle against her stomach. I scooped up a spoonful of cocoa, blew on it gently, and handed it to her lips. As the hot drink went down, a warm current flowed through her whole body. Chloe looked at my profile as I intently blew on the drink, and her eyes suddenly reddened. She raised her head abruptly and, taking me by surprise, pressed her rosy lips directly onto my face. "Sean, I like you. Will you be my boyfriend?" This was her fifth confession. Her eyes were as gentle as water, carrying a hint of stubborn pleading. Ding. Chloe's fifth confession. Reward for rejection. Peerless Martial Arts Manual Top Tier Mixed Martial Arts MMA. My heart shook violently. MMA? The system actually arranged this kind of unarmed killing skill for me? For the sake of Peerless Martial Arts, the school beauty would have to suffer a bit more. I forcibly suppressed the stirrings in my heart and patted her little head gently. "Can't do that. I really have someone I like." Chloe's eyes dimmed, but the next second, her top-tier love-struck brain flared up again. She noticed I subconsciously touched the scar on my forehead left from a fight, and instantly fantasized. Sean is using that excuse to test me again. He touched the scar just to remind me of when he heroically saved me last time. He definitely has me in his heart. In an instant, the girl was back at full health. I received the top-tier MMA manual from the system, and my brain roared as countless close quarters combat moves, arm bars, and rear naked chokes merged into my muscle memory. I tried throwing a sharp jab, The air whistled with the force of the strike, and my blood felt vibrant. With this combat killing skill, coupled with the super vitality serum ID just taken, I was absolutely a humanoid beast. To soothe Chloe, I opened the Uber Eats app and ordered 7 or 8 of her favorite high-end Italian dishes in one go, filling the table. Even with a stomachache, the girl was completely conquered by the food, and her little belly grew round. Hiccup. She couldn't hold it back and let out a loud hiccup in front of me. The image of the cold school beauty collapsed instantly. She was so ashamed she wanted to find a crack in the ground, frantically rubbing her stomach and acting stupid. I tried to hold back my laughter, then suddenly pulled out a Halloween ghost mask with fangs and poked it in her face. They say being scared stops the hiccups. Chloe was so frightened her face lost its color. As a result, the hiccups didn't stop, they turned into a chain reaction. Hic, you, hic, are so annoying, hic. Watching her adorable, unlucky appearance, I finally broke down, my laughter ringing throughout the entire dormitory building. However, just when I was flirting with Chloe in the dorm, enjoying the quiet and peaceful time, I didn't know that a massive storm had completely locked onto me. Inside a top-tier VIP club box in downtown Boston, the floor was littered with shattered Perrier Jouet champagne glasses. A wealthy heir with an ominous glint in his eyes and a body full of hostility was staring intensely at his phone screen. On the screen was the most popular photo on the medical school forum, Stella, the Ice Mountain School beauty, getting out of my junk Volkswagen Phaeton and taking the initiative to turn back and kiss my cheek. This wealthy heir's name was Vincent Vance, the second young master of the Vance family, a consortium on the East Coast, younger brother of Julian Vance, the mastermind forcing Mia into marriage. He had been pursuing Stella for a full year without even earning a smile. Now, his perfect goddess, whom he regarded as his private property, had actually offered a kiss to a poor student driving a piece of junk VW. Total disgrace. Vincent smashed his phone to pieces, his eyes bloodshot, roaring like a frenzied beast. Check. I want the license plate of that car. Strip this kid named Sean of his background until there's nothing left. My Vincent's woman, there's actually someone who dares to touch her. I want him dead. In the dark of Boston, undercurrents were surging. The eldest young master of the Vance family, Julian, was feverishly forcing my first love, Mia, to marry, while the second young master, Vincent, had already issued an underworld hit order on me because of one kiss from Stella. But they had no idea that what they were about to face was a super tycoon with over 14 million in cash in his account, possessing peerless business cheat codes, having just integrated a master-level MMA killing skill, and having a physique far exceeding human limits. I didn't take the so-called hit order from these two brothers seriously at all. In the face of absolute power, all plots and tricks are jokes. I slept extremely soundly that night. If the Vance family wanted to play, I would accompany them at any time, but right now, I had more important little things to do, like farming system rewards from that clingy school beauty. Early the next morning, I stood downstairs at the sorority building, carrying 2 thermos cups. In the cool morning breeze, a circle of people soon gathered around. It's here. It's here. Sean's 100th confession is here. Inside and outside the building were densely packed crowds. Even girls who hadn't woken up were dragged onto the balcony by their roommates. Everyone thought I was here for some grand confession of the century, and they were even prepared to skip class to watch the drama. But I just calmly handed the items to Chloe's roommate, who ran downstairs. This is hot ginger cocoa. Let her drink it to stop the pain. That thermos bucket has French chicken soup for replenishing chi and blood. Tell her to have it at noon. My voice wasn't loud, but it was clear enough for the whole scene to hear. The crowd exploded instantly. Not a confession. Running over early in the morning to deliver heartfelt chicken soup. All the single dogs in the school instantly felt their breakfasts weren't tasty anymore. Realizing there was no gossip to watch, the group wailed and rushed toward the teaching building, leaving Chloe in the dorm clutching the steaming cocoa, smiling like a fool who had gained the whole world. After delivering the soup, I found a deserted park and practiced the MMA mixed martial arts the system had just rewarded me with. After eating the super vitality serum, I felt an endless explosive force in my body, and my punches were whistling with power. Just as I was preparing to return to the dorm to take a shower and check on my Texas barbecue buffet, which was about to open, my phone rang. It was my cashier, Sherry, calling from Leo's phone, her voice trembling with anxiety. Boss, something happened. The shop was smashed. My brain went buzz, and I sprinted 2 streets to reach the outside of the shop. The newly renovated barbecue shop was now a mess. Tables and chairs were knocked over, and the floor was covered in broken glass. My childhood friend Leo was lying to the side, his head covered in blood, while Sherry was frantically trying to stop the bleeding with a first aid kit. The other 2 part-time girls were already scared silly, huddled in the corner shivering. Who did it? I suppressed the raging fire in my heart. I don't know. A group of people rushed in and started smashing things, and they told Leo to stay away from someone. I immediately sent a 3,000 red packet to every employee in the group chat and told the frightened girls to go home and rest first. When the ambulance arrived, I accompanied Leo as they took him out. But just as I stepped out of the shop, my pupils shrank instantly. The top trim Phaeton parked outside, that car worth over 2 million that carried the memories of me first meeting Maya had also been smashed into a mangled mess and was completely totaled. Damn it, those bastards. Leo, covered in blood, clenched his fists tightly. I turned to the Boston police who had arrived to investigate, my voice as cold as ice. That car is mine, worth 2.5 million. Aside from the shop, they also smashed the car. You must help me find out who. The police officer gasped, warning me that the other party was ruthless and to be careful of retaliation. After sending Leo off, I suppressed my anger and asked around the university town. Soon, a cafe owner gave me a lead. Mid-30s, scarred face, bald characteristics were definitely the former gang bully of this area. Rocco. I was about to provide the lead to the police precinct, but the owner firmly pressed my hand and pointed at the ceiling, hinting that this group had connections above, and reporting it would be useless. I didn't believe it. At noon, I took Sherry to the local police precinct and handed over Rocco's sketch and the lead. The result? The officer who received us didn't even lift his eyelids, lazily playing Tai Chi with us. Your shop doesn't have surveillance. Relying on verbal identification alone can't arrest anyone. It doesn't conform to procedure. Go back and wait for news. We were kicked out directly. Just as I was standing in front of the precinct doubting life, a hooligan-looking yellow-haired youth walked toward us, swaggering into the station. Sherry grabbed my arm violently. Sean. He was one of the people who smashed the shop that day. We hid in the Starbucks across the street and stared intently. Not long after, the yellow-haired youth walked out, and the person personally sending him out and even high-fiving and laughing with him was the very officer who had just dismissed us using procedure. Birds of a feather. For the first time in my life, I felt the dark side of a glamorous city. If justice could only wait for news, then Leo's blood had been shed in vain. You go back to school first. I stopped Sherry on the roadside and hailed an Uber. What about you? Sherry looked at me with worry. I sneered. I'll solve it my own way. I had the driver follow the yellow-haired youth's Harley motorcycle all the way to a remote and dilapidated alleyway in the slums of South Boston Southie. Here, illegal basements flashed with neon lights everywhere, and the air was filled with the stench of marijuana and sour rot. The yellow-haired youth entered a bungalow, and not long after, 7 or 8 tattooed thugs pushed the door open and walked out. Leading them was none other than the bald guy with the scarred face. Rocco. I followed them silently, listening to their unbridled, Kongshao wild laughter. Damn, that female student in the shop the other day was really juicy. If I weren't afraid of trouble, I should have really brought her back to enjoy. Heard the station told Boss Rocco to lay low for a while. Young Master Vance is really generous, smashing a 2 million plus Phaeton. He gave us 200,000 directly. Smashing luxury cars feels damn good. Their arrogant laughter echoed in the alley. I bent down, picked up half a solid red brick from the ground, and the blood in my body began to boil frantically. Hey, I called out coldly. A thug turned his head, completely unguarded. Bang! The red brick in my hand smashed onto his face without mercy. The brick shattered, blood spurted instantly, and the thug let out a miserable shriek and collapsed straight to the ground. Dead silence. Rocco was stunned. He never expected that a reckless kid would dare to use a brick to crack heads on their turf. Motherfucker, who the hell are you? I casually tossed the remaining half of the broken brick, clapped the dust off my hands, and said calmly, who is young Master Vance? Why smash my shop and smash my car? Rocco was startled for a second, then gave a ferocious laugh. So you're that car owner. I was planning to ruin you, but your friend who drove the car blocked the disaster for you. Since you delivered yourself to your death, brothers, beat him to death. 7 or 8 thugs swarmed from all directions. Facing this group of desperados, not only was I not panicked, but I felt an unprecedented excitement. The top-tier MMA rewarded by the system finally fully awakened at this moment. In my field of vision, the wild punches they threw were as slow as slow motion. A thug flew over with a kick. I leaned slightly, advancing instead of retreating, turning my fist into a palm, and precisely chopped down on his elbow. Crack! A crisp sound of bone breaking echoed, and the thug let out a pig's laughtering scream. I seized the opportunity, lifted a leg, and kicked him 2 meters away. This explosive force shocked even me. Top-tier MMA focuses on offense and defense, one-hit kills. I was like a hungry wolf rushing into a flock of sheep, my fists becoming blurs, every punch landing on flesh. Bang, bang, bang. In just over a dozen breaths, the 7 or 8 burly men who were just arrogant were now lying on the ground in all directions, wailing. Rocco's physique, which he was proud of, was vulnerable in front of me, taking a heavy continuous jab square in the bridge of the nose. He covered his shattered nose, blood mixed with snot flowing over his hands, retreating again and again, with fear finally appearing in his eyes. I walked toward him step by step, overlooking him from above. Can you tell me now? Who is young Master Vance? Rocco suddenly flashed a ferocious glint in his eyes, pulled a tactical dagger from his waistband, and lunged at me. I was prepared. I lifted my hand to grab his wrist tightly, exerting force suddenly. Clang! The dagger fell to the ground, accompanied by Rocco's miserable wailing, as his wrist was snapped in half by me, dangling limply. I picked up the dagger from the ground and pressed the cold blade against his carotid artery. As the blade just pierced the skin, overflowing with a trace of blood, this gang leader who roamed South Boston felt his legs turn to jelly, and a pool of yellow liquid seeped out from his jeans. He had peed his pants in fear. He'll talk. Donc il me. It's Vincent Vance, the second young master of the Vance Consortium, a medical student. He said you stole his woman and paid us to ruin you. Medical school? Vincent Vance? I wiped the fingerprints off the dagger with disgust, tossed it on the ground, and turned to walk out of the alley. I happened to run into Sherry, who had followed out of concern. She looked at the fallen combatants on the ground, too shocked to speak. Go to the medical school. I hailed a taxi. In the car, Sherry anxiously urged me, Sean, Vincent is the young master of the Vance family, with immense power across the East Coast. You can't afford to offend him. You can't be this impulsive. I didn't even look at her, my tone as cold as ice. Just because he has power, I deserve to be bullied? Leo can't be beaten for nothing. 10 minutes later, the taxi stopped at the school gate of Westbrook Medical School. It was packed with people, extremely lively. In the center of the crowd, the arrogant Vincent was wearing a pure white suit, enjoying the screams of the girls around him. Under his command, a truck slowly unloaded a brand new Maserati sports car. Next to him, his own red Ferrari was parked. Vincent held a large bouquet of roses, walking confidently to the center of the crowd, to Stella, the Ice Mountain school beauty. Stella, this Maserati I just bought is for you. Be my girlfriend. The boys around were insanely jealous, and the girls screamed and teased, get together, get together. But Stella was full of disgust, coldly throwing out a line. Stop bothering me. I don't like you at all. Nothing else? I'm leaving. Vincent had been pampered since childhood. When had he ever suffered such treatment? His face instantly darkened. Why? Stella didn't hold back, hitting him in public. Because you're too ugly. The entire place erupted a fatal blow. Vincent's facial muscles twitched crazily. Burning with rage, he was just about to erupt when a voice suddenly exploded from outside the crowd. She said, you're too ugly. Are you deaf and can't hear? I pushed through the crowd forcefully and walked in. Vincent had just roared who, but I didn't waste a single word, leaped into the air, and kicked him hard in the chest. Bang! The dignified young master of the Vance family flew out like a tattered sack, landing face first in a dogshit posture on the ground, head first into the rose bushes, his arms bleeding from the thorns. Dead silence. Everyone was stunned. Even the mouths of those cheering hadn't had time to close. Stella saw me, first shocked, then rushed over full of joy to grab my hand. Sean, you're here. Listen to my explanation. I have nothing to do with him. Vincent, lying on the ground, spat out a mouthful of muddy blood. Seeing Stella holding my hand tightly, he felt his head turning green, and his face twisted with rage. It's you. You're the owner of that junk VW? That trash Rocco, he couldn't even manage to beat a guy right. He completely ripped off the mask, pointing at me and roaring hysterically. I was the one who sent people to smash your shop, smash your car, beat your people, beat him to death. He'll take responsibility for whatever happens. Several bodyguards who usually acted as accomplices to Vincent immediately rolled up their sleeves and rushed at me. I hadn't enjoyed the alley fight enough. Facing this group of suit-clad bodyguards raised in greenhouses, I was too lazy to even dodge. With a cross-arm deformation of grappling, the crisp sound of dislocated bones accompanied by screams resounded at the school gate. In the blink of an eye, Vincent's lackeys were all lying on the ground wailing. Vincent was completely bewildered. He thought I would beg for mercy on my knees, but his men had been wiped out. You, what are you doing? Watching me approach step by step, he finally panicked. I'm the young master of the Vance Consortium. You dare hit me? Idiot. I spat out 2 words coldly, moved forward in a sprint, and kicked him over again. This time, I didn't hold back, stepping firmly on his face, grinding my soul against his mouth. Vincent's white suit was already covered in mud and blood, issuing garbled screams. Let me go. Otherwise, I'll make you disappear. I exerted force under my foot. Bang! Vincent rolled several times on the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood, accompanied by 2 broken front teeth. Pity, only 2 teeth dropped. I sneered, turning my gaze to the Ferrari and the brand new Maserati parked nearby. You really like smashing cars, right? You beat my brother, so I beat you. You smashed my car, so I smash your cart. Hat's fair, right? Under the horrified gaze of the entire faculty and student body, I walked to a heavy cast iron trash can welded to the ground by the roadside. I took a deep breath, and the muscles in my arms suddenly exerted force. Accompanied by the ear-raking sound of metal tearing and concrete bricks shattering, I forcibly uprooted the several hundred-pound cast iron trash can. WTF? Is this even human? The surrounding American college students gasped, retreating in fear. I carried the heavy trash can, walked to the Ferrari, held it high, and smashed it down. Bang! A deafening roar. The Ferrari door instantly severely dented and deformed. I didn't stop, hoisting the trash can high again. The windshield shattered, the hood dented, the headlights burst. In less than a minute, this supercar worth several $100,000 was completely reduced to a pile of waste iron emitting white smoke. I turned and walked toward the brand new Maserati tied with red silk ribbons. After a few terrifying dull thuds, this confession tool, originally intended for showing off, also turned into scrap metal. I casually tossed the twisted trash can onto the roof of the scrapped car, clapped the dust off my hands, and looked at Vincent, who was limp on the ground, smiling slightly. So, smashing cars really feels like these. It's quite satisfying. Vincent looked at his luxury cars with vacant eyes, shaking with rage, but didn't dare even let out a fart. Stella ran over with tears in her eyes, holding my hand. Sean, run. Before the Boston police arriveth, the Vance family really won't let you off. It's already come to this, why run? I wiped a tiny scratch on the back of my hand caused by glass, and turned to look at the hundreds of onlookers who were scared silly. Trouble everyone, who has time to help me dial 911? The whole scene turned to stone. One man crushed 7 or 8 bodyguards, tore apart 2 supercars with bare hands, smashed the front teeth of a tycoon's son, and then asked passersby to call the police to arrest himself. What kind of lawless desperado is this? Not long after, the ear-piercing siren sounded, and BPD Boston Police Department cars blocked the scene. The sergeant in charge got out of the car, saw the debris on the ground and 2 scrap supercars, and was dumbfounded. Seeing me, he was startled. You did this? Perfect timing. I took the initiative to extend my hands, smiling. I found the person who smashed my shop. I beat the people on the ground, and I smashed these 2 cars. All the faculty and students present are my witnesses. The police were completely perplexed by me, their mouths twitching crazily. Take him away. Cold handcuffs fell on my wrists, and I calmly sat in the police car. And what I didn't know was that in the half hour after the police car left, the video of me taking on 8, kicking a rich second generation, and tearing apart 2 luxury cars with bare hands had completely exploded across all college forums in Boston and even the entire United States. Asian hunk takes on 8, smashes 2 luxury cars worth millions. Most satisfying counterattack of the year. A trash can wipes out Vance Consortium's supercars. Countless boys saw me as a god of war, and countless girls watched the handsome figure of me smashing the car without changing my expression in the video, screaming wildly and licking the screen. At the same time, inside a VIP ward at Massachusetts General Hospital, with missing front teeth and a swollen face, Vincent was crying and complaining to a white youth who was elegantly dressed and had an extremely gloomy aura. Brother, you must take revenge for me. I want that brat named Sean dead. This youth was none other than the true young master of the Vance family, Julian Vance, the mastermind behind the scenes who was forcing Mia into marriage. Julian kept a cold face, taking the iPad handed over by his subordinate. What played on the screen was the scene of Vincent arrogantly barking before I smashed the car. I was the one who sent people to smash your shop, smash your car, beat him to death. He'll take responsibility for whatever happens. After watching the video, Julian's eyes were cold to the extreme, and with a backhand, he gave a loud slap, hitting Vincent's already swollen face hard. Brother, why did you hit me? Vincent was beaten into a stupor. Are you brain dead? Julian roared in disappointment. You dare say such things about hiring thugs to smash a shop and hurt people in front of hundreds of people? Do you know how many pairs of eyes from the FBI and other groups are watching the Vance group now? Some things can be done, but they must never be said. Clear the video online for me immediately. After teaching his stupid brother a lesson, Julian stared at my face paused on the screen, a hint of intense killing intent flashing in his eyes. And at this moment, in the police station interrogation room, I was lazily sitting in a chair, urging the police officer in front of me to quickly arrest Vincent, who hired the thugs. Just then, the door of the interrogation room was pushed open violently. A middle-aged white police captain, Captain Harris, walked in with big strides, slammed the table hard with a bang, pointed at my nose and roared sternly. You dared to provoke trouble in the street and beat young Master Vance, and you also intentionally damaged millions of dollars of property. You have big guts. Looking at this captain who was clearly bought off by the Vance family, a sneer hooked at the corner of my mouth. I sat calmly in the interrogation chair, stating the facts with a sneer. Vincent hired thugs to smash my shop and beat my people. I went to him to ask for an explanation. He publicly threatened to kill me and commanded 7 or 8 people to surround and beat me, so I fought back. Hundreds of faculty and students can testify this is called legitimate self-defense. Seeing that I was unhurried and even knew the law, Captain Harris' face darkened to the extreme. He gave a wink, and the young officer next to him understood. He didn't just walk over and shut off the interrogation room surveillance camera directly. He also locked the door tight. Not young, but quite sharp-tongued. Harris grinned, took off his police jacket to reveal his fleshy frame, and fished a pair of special no-trace riot gloves from the drawer to put on. Since it's mutual assault, how can you have no injuries? Don't worry, I guarantee that after this glove hits you, even the medical examiner won't be able to identify the injuries. Don't blame anyone but yourself. You offended the Vance family. Before the words had faded, he threw a heavy punch at my face. The corner of my mouth tore instantly, and a thick smell of blood surged into my oral cavity. I spat out a mouthful of blood and slowly raised my head, a raging, repressed fury igniting in my eyes. The interrogation chair in a police station is usually welded with thick iron pipes to confine suspects. But Harris didn't know that I, having swallowed the system's super vitality serum, with a physique far exceeding human limits, and having just integrated the Maxwell MMA unarmed killing technique, was now a Tyrannosaurus Rex bound by chains. I took a deep breath, the muscles in my arms bulged instantly, and the veins coiled like horned dragons. I exerted all my strength and struggled outward violently. Bang! Accompanied by the ear-aching sound of metal tearing. The thick iron pipe confining my arm was forcibly snapped by me. Rough raw iron scratched my arm, bleeding profusely, but I didn't even look at it. I stood up abruptly, covered in arm blood and cold handcuffs, like a god of death, staring at Captain Harris, who had lifted his fist and was stunned in midair. Harris was scared back 2 steps by my beast-like gaze, eyes wide with terror. But I didn't give him any chance to react. I bent my arm into an elbow and smashed it into his chest like a cannonball in a fierce Muay Thai elbow strike. Through a dull sound, Harris' massive frame of nearly 200 pounds was directly blasted away by me. He fell to his knees on the ground, clutching his chest in pain, his face turning liver-colored, unable to even catch his breath. The young officer nearby was scared crazy, fumbling to pull out his baton and yelling, "Freeze, idiot!" I sneered, accurately hooked the heavy iron interrogation chair that had just been snapped off by me with my toe, and kicked it out like a football. Bang! The interrogation chair smashed accurately onto the young officer's lower leg. Accompanied by a shrill scream, he knelt heavily on the ground, leg bone in excruciating pain, his features completely distorted. I walked up slowly, stepped firmly on his hand holding the baton, and applied slight pressure to crush it. You dare say I assaulted the police? The monitor monitoring was turned off by you, and the door was locked by you. I'm a powerless college student wearing handcuffs. What can I use to beat you two professionally trained Boston police officers? I turned to look at Captain Harris, who was still gasping for air on the ground, walked over, and kicked him hard in the chest again. Do you two deserve to wear this uniform? Just as the two corrupt cops were wailing on the ground, the door of the interrogation room was suddenly pushed open from the outside. Police Chief Smith, the number 1 of the local precinct, walked in. Seeing the mess, his face changed drastically. Harris seemed to have seen a savior, crawling toward him, pointing at me and crying, "Chief!" This kid violently resisted arrest and beat law enforcement personnel. But before Chief Smith could even react, a young man in a tailored suit pushing gold-rimmed glasses walked out from behind him. A weak college student, wearing handcuffs, beating 2 professional police officers, and even capable of tearing apart an interrogation chair with his bare hands? Don't you think this sounds ironic? The man pushed his glasses, walking to my front. "Hello, Mr. Sean. I am Ethan, chief lawyer of the Boston Harvey law firm." I was stunned. "Lawyer Ethan? Isn't this the biological uncle of my cashier, Sherry?" Without a second word, Lawyer Ethan took out his iPhone and started recording my bleeding arm in HD. His tone as sharp as a knife. "Chief Smith, my client's arm is bleeding in your interrogation room, and the surveillance was artificially turned off. Can I reasonably suspect that you are conducting corporal punishment, seriously violating the constitutional amendment?" Harris was anxious, lifting his clothes to show the bruised chest ID left him. "Bullshit. It was clearly us who were beaten." Ethan was not only not panicked, but gave a cold laugh. "Chief Smith, it seems the style of your precinct is very problematic. Not only did you shut off monitoring and abuse your power, but now you are even attempting to frame my handcuffed client by self-mutilation. If this is the case, I will represent my client and formally sue the Boston Police Department for illegal law enforcement." Hearing the word sue, Chief Smith's face turned green. Ethan was the top ceiling of the Massachusetts legal world. If he bit down, the entire police station would face a severe investigation by the Internal Affairs Division IAD. Chief Smith instantly put on a smiling face, changing his face on the spot. "Misunderstanding. Lawyer Ethan, it's a misunderstanding. These 2 people are actually just temporary outsourced security personnel in our bureau. Their personal behavior has nothing to do with our BPD. 1 second a captain, the next second an outsourced temp." Hearing this sentence, Harris saw black, completely paralyzed on the ground. The police rank head spent 6 years of hard work climbing, was completely stripped away today because he stood up for the Vance family, his future ruin. In just a few words, Ethan turned things around, not only letting me walk out of the police station unscathed, but even making the other side swallow their grievances. Stepping out the gate, Sherry was waiting outside, her anxious heart finally settling, and Ethan shed the cautious, high-end lawyer persona he had inside, laughing and patting my shoulder. "Brother, you're too awesome. Beating corrupt cops while handcuffed, and beating Vincent until he lost his teeth. I've long found those 2 Vance brothers a pain in the ass." I looked at this lawyer whose personality changed in seconds, speechless. But the news that I was released without bail was like a heavy bomb, completely detonating Boston's wealthy circle. The young master of the Vance Consortium's eldest brother Julian, who was currently forcing Mia into marriage, was cold-eyed upon learning that his younger brother had been beaten into a cripple, and the person who bailed him out was Lawyer Ethan of the Johnson family. He immediately dialed the number of the current head of the Johnson family, MIA's biological father, to test him. MIA's father picked up the phone, scared into a cold sweat. He thought that by forbidding Mia from leaving the estate and cutting off the Wi-Fi, he could cover up the secret that Mia had been running around with me for the past few days. At this moment, hearing my name from Julian's mouth, he was terrified that the scandal of wearing a green hat before the wedding would be exposed. When he learned that Julian was just testing because I beat his brother, MA's father breathed a sigh of relief, frantically demeaning Sean to be worthless, frantically distancing himself. "Don't worry, Julian, I haven't seen this poor brat. It's all Ethan's wishful thing. Kinjit has nothing to do with our family. Let's put the wedding of you and Mia on the schedule next week." Hanging up the phone, MIA's father trembled with rage, immediately calling Ethan and Sherry back to the estate to lecture them, warning them that they must never have any relationship with me again. And at this moment, Mia, who was under house arrest in the estate, was like a caged canary that had lost its freedom, sitting by the bed, dazed. Her younger sister, Sherry, sneaked into her room and vividly recounted the heroic feat of me taking on a gang single-handedly in an alley and beating Vincent until he lost his teeth at the school gate. As Mia listened, amazing radiance suddenly burst into her dimmed eyes. Her long, black-stockinged legs kicked wildly on the bed in excitement, her mouth unable to stop curling upward. The 2 brothers in the Vance family were both not good people, but now they were beaten up by me in public was simply too satisfying. But after the joy, Mia felt deep worry, looking at our past photos on her phone, whispering to herself, "Sean, the Vance family absolutely will not let this reach to you. The savior must stay safe." Not just Mia. Inside the Westbrook University sorority, things were a total mess. The video of me taking on 8 and tearing apart a luxury car with bare hands had already gone viral. Chloe, the cold school beauty, looked at the ruthless, fist-o-flesh way I fought off several attackers in the video, not only not feeling that I was violent, but getting teary-eyed with worry. When she heard her friends analyzing that I was facing a huge claim of $1 million for destroying the Ferrari and Maserati, the girl couldn't sit still at all. She immediately dialed my number, her voice thick with thick tears. "Sean, do you have money to compensate them? If not, don't be afraid, I'll help you pay. My family is very rich. Her girlfriends nearby were all stunned. $1 million in cash. Chloe was going to pay for me without even blinking? Where was the cold school beauty? This was clearly an ultimate rich woman with astonishing financial power. Hanging up the phone, a warmth washed over my heart. But before this warmth could even settle, an urgent call from my academic advisor poured a bucket of cold water on me. Just as I stepped into the school gate, the advisor handed me a cold letter. Notice of expulsion for Westbrook University student Sean Adams. The school will officially broadcast the announcement to the whole school tomorrow. You pack your things. You offended a consortium you shouldn't have. There's nothing to be done. The advisor sighed, full of regret. The Vance family's retaliation came even faster than I expected. Since they couldn't move through legal channels shielded by lawyer Ethan, they directly pressured the Ivy League school's board of directors to cut off my education. I calmly took the expulsion form, a sneer hooked at the corner of my mouth. Vance family, right? Since you are in a rush to find death, then don't blame me for flipping your table. Back in the dorm, I calmly told the brothers about being expelled. The fraternity, which had just been cheering frantically for me beating up a rich second generation, fell into dead silence. Roommate Luke was so angry he kicked over a chair, cursing the school board for being unfair. But soon, these loyal brothers patted my shoulder and comforted me. It's just a university diploma. Sean, you were born to be a wolf of Wall Street who needs a damn diploma. Looking at this group of hot-blooded brothers, heroism surged in my chest. Since there was no place for me in the school, I would completely let go and complete the system's tycoon challenge. Brothers, let's drink until we drop. It's my treat today. Let's go to my newly opened shop. I waved my hand and issued the assembly order in the iMessage group. In the evening, I led the group of fraternity brothers and marched grandly toward the outside of the university town. When the neon sign of Sean's Texas Barbecue lit up in the night sky, the brothers were all stunned. This was a 2,000 square foot storefront with top-tier renovation. I took out scissors to cut the red ribbon. Grand opening. Sherry stood in front of the store, wearing a custom-made black apron, clean and capable, with several part-time beauties. The brothers photographed the stunning scene and posted it frantically on Instagram and Snapchat. And just 10 minutes after Sherry's photo was exposed online, the system's heaven-defying grand opening traffic buff exploded completely. WTF. The cold talent of the business school, Sherry, is actually a cashier at that shop. Brothers, grab your gear. Charge. I'm going to see my wife. Gemini saw. In less than half an hour, a dark, swarming mass of university students surged from the end of the street. Originally, the boys had all rushed over to catch a glimpse of the campus belle, but the moment they stepped through the door, they were all physically hooked by that rich, soul-piercing aroma of Texas secret recipe barbecue. Could the system's $5 million top secret recipe possibly be a hollow reputation? The smoky charcoal fire, the sizzling, oil-dripping Texas brisket, and the novel experience of grilling the meat themselves instantly transformed this group of students who had come to hit on Girl Cinto a frenzy of gluttonous food warriors. Oh my god, this meat is insane. Turns out I'm a barbecue genius. Boss, give me another 5 pounds of beef ribs and 2 pitchers of craft beer. Orders flew thick and fast. Tables were packed inside and out, dozens of them, and the place was bursting at the seams, the atmosphere boiling with smoke and fire. Even passing Boston citizens, caught by that domineering fragrance, seemed enchanted and unable to walk away, joining the queue for a seat. It wasn't until midnight that the last batch of customers finally dispersed. Sweat beaded on Shirley's forehead as her slender fingers tapped furiously on the POS system. Finally, she looked up and reported a number in a trembling voice that made everyone's scalp tingle. Sean, today's total foot traffic was 2,326 people. Because of the opening discount, today's total revenue is $90,714. $92,000. After subtracting the cost of ingredients and labor, my net profit for the very first day of opening was actually over $60,000. This isn't opening a shop. This is freaking highway robbery. At this rate of exorbitant profit, the $5 million profit mission required by the system can absolutely be completed ahead of schedule within a few months. By then, once I have the urban planning maps for Boston for the coming year, the mere Vance Financial Group won't even be a bedbug in my eyes. I suppressed the wild joy in my heart, settled the shop's chores, and personally escorted Shirley safely back to her dormitory. In the early hours of the morning, the streets were deserted. I walked back to the barbecue shop alone, preparing to pull down the rolling shutter to head to a hotel for some rest. Just then, piercing high-beam headlights suddenly cut through the night, shining directly on my face. A black, long-wheelbase Rolls-Royce Phantom stopped by the roadside as silently as a ghost. The car doors opened, and several cold-faced bodyguards in suits and leather shoes stepped out, directly cutting off all my exits. The leader of the men in black stared at me coldly, his voice carrying a command that brooked no argument. "You're Sean, right? Our boss, Julian Vance, wants to see you." Faced with this condescending command, I let out a cold laugh. Was this eldest son of the Vance family here to avenge his younger brother? Seeing that I remained unmoved, the bodyguard arrogantly ordered me to go to Massachusetts General Hospital right now to kneel and apologize to Vincent. Apologize? I dropped the bullshit and turned to leave without looking back. The bodyguard was enraged and reached out to grab me. With one hand, I gripped his wrist like a steel pincer. As the bones made an unbearable creaking sound, the lackey grimaced in pain, cold sweat pouring down his face. I tossed him aside. The Vance family, since we've already torn off the mask of civility, let's see who plays the game better. Because it was too late and the fraternity dorm was locked, I simply opened a presidential suite at the nearby Ritz-Carlton to catch some sleep. But I had no idea that by early the next morning, the world outside had turned upside down. Under pressure from the Vance Financial Group, the school had already sent the notice of my expulsion to everyone's campus email. When the news reached the sorority, the Ice Queen campus belle, Chloe, went frantic with worry. The girl thought I was drowning my sorrows or seeking a dead end because of the expulsion. She sprinted all the way to the hotel front desk, used her ID card as collateral, and acted spoiled to coax the room key out of the staff. When she burst into the room with red eyes, she found me wrapped in a down duvet, snoring away. After confirming I was okay, the aloof campus belle didn't leave. Instead, she started simping. Staring at my handsome sleeping face, she was practically drooling. In a moment of madness, she actually took off her shoes and crept into my bed like a little cat. When I woke up in a daze, I felt a soft octopus pressing down on me. I opened my eyes, and we were staring at each other at point-blank range. The air completely froze in that moment. Neither of us dared to move, so we could only rely on our acting skills to pretend to be asleep. It wasn't until the girl's traitorous stomach let out a gurgle that the socially fatal pretend sleep game was declared bankrupt. However, the real Azura field was yet to come. Just as we stepped out of the hotel suite and into the elevator, we bumped heading into a middle-aged white man in a suit hugging a blonde supermodel. This man was actually Chloe's father, Mr. Davison, invisible billionaire of Boston, who had just returned from a vacation in Europe. Getting caught at a hotel with a girl by the future father-in-law, what kind of earthly suffering is this? But to my jaw-dropping surprise, this hardcore father-in-law didn't get angry. Instead, he took us to the hotel cafe. After learning that I had no history of divorce in my family, he actually patted my shoulder with great satisfaction. Young people nowadays are very open, but since you're still in school, make sure to take safety precautions. Chloe was so embarrassed she buried her face under the table. Before leaving, the father-in-law casually took out his phone and transferred $5 million in pocket money directly to Chloe's trust account. Looking at the 8-figure balance in the app on Chloe's phone, I took a sharp breath. Good lord, this girl isn't just a top-tier campus belle. She's a literal super-rich heiress. Chloe even told me with a blush, "Sean, if you ever run out of money, just tell me. They'll take care of you." The taste of being kept by a rich woman is tempting, but I am a man with a god-tier tycoon system. After bidding farewell to Chloe, I returned to the school dorm and calmly packed my luggage. My brothers surrounded me, filled with righteous indignation, but I just patted their shoulders nonchalantly. It's just a university diploma. Does the Vance family think they can ruin me with just this? Naive. I took an Uber straight to the $10 million luxury mansion rewarded by the Sistemth Oasis Cove Villa in Boston's wealthy district. But just as I reached the door, I froze. The villa was bustling with people, lights were flashing, and several massive Hollywood-grade cameras were set up in the living room. A group of glitzy male and female stars were sitting on my leather sofas, chatting and laughing. "Who are you?" "This is a Hollywood film set. No unauthorized entry." A production assistant ran over arrogantly, trying to kick me out. "I am the owner of this villa. Who gave you permission to come in?" My face instantly darkened. The pot-bellied director Clark walked over, his face full of disdain. "We rented this villa from the property management. Where did this penniless student come from to try and scam us? Throw him out." Several stuntmen from the crew immediately rolled up their sleeves and lunged at me. I laughed out of sheer anger. Today, it seems every Tom, Dick, and Harry thinks they can step on me. My maxed-out top-tier MMA proficiency exploded instantly. I sidestepped a heavy punch and countered with a sharp hook straight to the opponent's jaw. Bang! The 200-pound brute flew 5 meters away like a broken kite. In less than 10 seconds, the previously invincible stuntmen were all lying on the floor wailing. The entire crew fell into a dead silence. Those previously high and mighty third-tier Hollywood stars shrunk into the corners, not even daring to breathe. I pulled up a chair and sat grandly at the villa entrance, locking the door behind me. "Before the Boston police arrive, none of you are leaving." I summoned the system and pulled up a detailed inventory of the house. I was shocked by what I saw. This villa provided by the system was packed with legendary items. A 50,000 handmade Italian mattress, top-tier solid mahogany furniture, and most importantly, I saw several shattered wine bottles lying haphazardly on the table in front of those actors. That was 1982 top-tier Chateau Mouton Rothschild and the 1945 legendary Romani Conti DRC, of which fewer than 3 bottles exist in the world and which had once fetched astronomical prices at Sotheby's. These idiots, while filming, were actually smashing my priceless wine just for the sound effect. I didn't hesitate to dial the number of Ethan, the chief attorney of Massachusetts and Shirley's uncle. In less than 10 minutes, Ethan arrived at the scene in his Porsche 911. When he saw the shattered bottles of legendary DRC on the floor, the usually suave lawyer's eyes turned red, and the veins on his neck bulged. These animals, they smashed $10 million wine.
Sean, don't worry.
If I don't make them go bankrupt today, my name Ethan is written backward. Director Clark finally realized he had kicked a steel plate. His legs turned to jelly, and he fell to his knees with a thud. But soon, as if catching a final straw, he screamed hysterically at us. "Don't push us too far. This villa was rented to us by the Vance Financial Group's property management, and our crew is an industry of the Vance family. If you offend the Vance family, you won't be able to take a single step on the East Coast." Slap. I delivered delivered a resounding backhand slap that sent Clark seeing stars. So you're just a dog kept by the Vance family. I wiped my hand in disgust. I even dared to beat up Vincent, the second young master of the Vance group. What do you think you are? Under Ethan's powerful legal pressure, the property manager Kevin was also summoned to the scene. Ethan pinned them down with federal felonies of illegal leasing and grand-scale property fraud in just a few sentences. Preliminary estimates for the damaged furniture and wine totaled a staggering $130 million. In despair, Clark tremblingly dialed the number of the eldest Vance son, Julian. Before long, several black Cadillac Escalades roared to a halt. Julian walked into my villa with a group of bodyguards, his face ashen. This was the first face-to-face confrontation between me and this true behind-the-scenes manipulator of the East Coast. Julian wanted to maintain his air of a wealthy heir, but when he saw Ethan and the $130 million claim in my hand, his eyes twitched violently. He was extremely shrewd. He knew this claim, backed by hidden camera evidence, was a bottomless pit. If he forced himself to protect Clark, the entire Vance Group's reputation and Wall Street stock price would be dragged down. Young Master Julian, please, save me. You just need to apologize, and you can save me. Clark hugged Julian's leg like a dog. Julian kicked him away with utter disgust. Get lost. For a piece of trash like you want me to apologize to a poor student? You are nothing but dogs kept by my Vance family. What does your life or death have to do with me? Those words were the final straw that broke the camel's back. I stood aside with a cold smile, watching this dog show. When people are in despair, they often don't hate the person who pushed them into the abyss most, they hate the person who had the power to save them but stood by and did nothing. The abandoned Clark's eyes instantly turned bloodshot, an insane murderous intent exploding in his gaze. He suddenly pulled a sharp piece of shattered wine bottle glass from his sleeve and, like a cornered beast, lunged at Julian with a roar. Julian Vance, since you want me dead, let's go to hell together. Putchie. The sharp glass shard stabbed deep into Julian's abdomen. Blood instantly stained his custom-made white shirt. The entire place was horrified. Julian clutched his stomach, retreating in agony, his eyes full of disbelief. The bodyguards pounced like madmen to pin Clark to the ground. Julian was hoisted into a car and rushed to the hospital for emergency surgery. Meanwhile, standing in the blood-stained living room, Ethan and I shared a smile. Without shedding my own blood, I had used another's hand to heavily wound the Vance family and secured a legal claim for over $100 million. This stab Julian took was truly pathetic. With the Vance family wounded, my career saw an explosive growth. My Sean's Texas barbecue was making over $60,000 in net profit daily, but the deadline for the system's earned $5 million profit task was still too far off. Shirley, the cold genius of the business school and my Gautier cashier, showed her incredible business talent at this moment. Boss, our real core competitiveness isn't the storefront, but that top secret barbecue recipe. Shirley handed me a detailed business plan, her eyes shining. We need to open up brand franchising. Charge each person a $200,000 franchise fee, plus sell them the secret seasoning continuously. This way, we not only transfer the risk, but also recoup tens of millions in cash flow in the shortest time, building the #1 catering brand in America. We will turn it into a heartless capital harvesting machine. I was dumbfounded. This business mind truly worthy of being the system-designated growth-type powerful woman. I decided on the spot to hand the entire responsibility of recruitment and franchising over to her. With my career stabilized, I decided to take the initiative and use my heaven-defying 10x cashback card to fleece the system. This card had to be triggered within an hour of spending, and the perfect timing for that was, naturally, Chloe's 6th confession. I was about to message Chloe, hinting for her to find me. Just then, the doorbell rang. When I opened it, I was stunned. A girl wrapped up like an Eskimo, with even her face covered by a mask, stood outside my door clutching bags of groceries from Whole Foods. Did you get the wrong door? The girl pulled off her mask and glared at me huffily. It's me. It was actually the Ice Queen Chloe. She came to the door voluntarily. For some reason, this girl had gone to the supermarket to buy a bunch of ingredients, swearing she would cook personally to conquer my stomach with food. Watching her change into a small pink apron I found, getting flustered in the kitchen, nearly burning through the frying pan, and tearing up in pain after getting splashed by hot oil, I truly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The Grand Ice Goddess was actually a kitchen killer. I quickly pushed her aside and took over the wok myself. Chloe just stood there obediently, her beautiful eyes filled with little stars, completely mesmerized. Just as I was plating a dish of steak pasta, Chloe suddenly hugged me tightly from behind, her soft body pressed firmly against my back, and her small head rubbed against me like a cat. What's up? I chuckled. Sean, turn around. She pouted, stomping her feet. As soon as I turned, the girl suddenly stood on her tiptoes, wrapped her arms around my neck, and brought her exquisite, flawless face right up to mine. Mwah, mwah, mwah. She kissed the corner of my mouth 3 times in a row. I was completely stunned. From Stella to Mia, and now to Chloe, I've actually been forcibly kissed by 3 legendary campus belles in turn. Don't I have any dignity? After the kiss, the girl was so embarrassed she covered her eyes, peeking at my reaction through the gaps in her fingers, even unconsciously licking her lips as if savoring it. Just as I was about to speak, she zoomed out of the kitchen like a startled rabbit. After eating and drinking her fill, Chloe slumped in her chair, rubbing her slightly rounded belly. Seeing that the time was right, I prepared to guide her into her 6th confession so I could maximize the benefits of that 10x cashback card. Chloe, shouldn't you do something productive now? I hinted wildly for her to confess. As a result, the girl's face instantly turned as red as a ripe tomato. She hesitated for a long time, looking at me with eyes that seemed to pull at my heartstrings, and then she actually pulled a small square box out of her pocket. Sean, I know boys always have certain thoughts during puberty. If you really want to, I won't refuse you. It's just, I didn't know your size. So I just grabbed a box of Trojans from CVS. The air completely froze at that moment. Looking at the unopened box of safety measures in her hand, I nearly coughed up a lungful of blood. What kind of garbage is inside this girl's head? I asked you to confess. Who the hell asked to do that kind of productive work with you? With a forehead full of black lines, I snatched the small box and threw it aside. Chloe, can you be more positive? I'm asking you to confess to me. Chloe finally realized her mistake. So embarrassed she wished she could find a hole to crawl into. She quickly took a deep breath, clasped her hands, and looked at me with eyes full of expectation. Sean, I like you. Let's date. Ding. Chloe's sixth confession. Sorry, Chloe, I can't agree to that, I said, delivering the rejection line with practiced ease. Mission completed. Reward, $5 million in cash. Sweet. But what made me even more caught between laughter and tears was that the rejected Chloe wasn't sad at all. Instead, she gave a happy MMHM. In her quirky logic, as long as I didn't say I like someone else, I was just testing her. She was even calculating in her mind that once the $5 million pocket money from her dad arrived, she would just use the money to keep me. But I didn't have time to be a sugar baby now. After seeing Chloe off, I immediately called my god-tier cashier Shirley, preparing to go on a crazy spending spree to fully ignite that 10x cashback card. Shirley, if we want to quickly hit $5 million in profit for the barbecue shop, how do you think we should do it? I asked tentatively in the Uber. The result was that this high-cold business school talent gave me a direct lesson. Relying on a single shop is too slow. We need to build fame and open up brand franchising. Shirley pulled a map of Boston and a MacBook out of her Hermes bag, her eyes flashing with a terrifying business acumen. We control the core secret seasoning.
Each franchise paye 200,000 plus onguin si Azonine fait.
Once we spread to 50 shops, that's $10 million in cash flow. We then use that money to sponsor a Super Bowl ad and turn star-rated barbecue into America's #1 catering empire. I sucked in a breath, worthy of the system-selected growth-type powerhouse. This business brain is simply a money-printing monster. I decided on the spot. Go and secure the leases for those 50 shops immediately. We went to Boston's old-school Apex Real Estate. Upon entering, a snobbish senior account manager saw us as two poor students and was not only cold but prepared to kick us out. Finally, only a bottom-tier junior agent named Tommy ran over politely to assist us. Mr. Sean, are you really looking to rent shops? Tommy asked tentatively. No more nonsense. The top 50 golden locations in Boston with the highest foot traffic, I'm renting them all today, I said flatly. Tommy's jaw nearly hit the floor. Afterward, he treated us like honored ancestors, taking us to see several prime commercial properties. Shirley used her computer to calculate precisely. She knew every district like the back of her hand, and even her haggling hit the opponent's bottom line. The funniest part was when we looked at a prime shop outside Boston Common. Tommy's eyes turned red. Brother Sean, to be honest, I was saving this shop to open a cosmetics store with my girlfriend. But a while ago, she gave me a green hat, cheated on me, and ran off with someone else. Shirley and I suppressed our laughter and patted his shoulder. Stay strong, brother. I'm taking this shop. After an afternoon of scouting, we preliminary finalized 50 prime commercial locations. The total rent for 1 year was exactly $21 million. The next day, Tommy drove his battered old used Toyota to pick me up for the real estate company, eager as could be. The moment I stepped through the doors, the scene stunned me. That same dough guy's manager from yesterday was now standing at the door like a grandson, smiling so hard the wrinkles on his face could crush a fly. Oh, Mr. Sean is here. Welcome. Quick, get Mr. Sean some coffee. I didn't even look at him, pointing directly at Tommy behind me. No need. I only want Tommy to handle the procedures. Tommy was glowing with excitement and blurted out, yes, daddy, sugar daddy, this way please. The contracts are already in the meeting room. My mouth twitched. Nowadays, for $1 million commission, an American youth's integrity can truly shatter into pieces. In the meeting room, my hand grew tired from signing. Finally, I placed my name on 50 lease contracts. The manager held the card machine with both hands, bowing respectfully before me. Beep. Transaction successful. $21 million paid in full instantly. The entire Apex Real Estate erupted. Getting that massive commission, Tommy was moved to tears and led the cheer. Daddy is mighty. Following that, from the manager to the employees, dozens of people in the company bowed 90 degrees in unison, shouting, "Boss is mighty." I suppressed the embarrassment, but my heart was soaring. But what truly sent me to heaven was the system prompt that followed in my mind. 10x cashback card triggered successfully. $10 million in cash has been deposited into the host's account. Looking at the string of zeros in the text message on my phone, I took a deep breath. In just a few months, I had gone from a poor student to officially joining the ranks of billionaires. The Vance Financial Group, in front of my $10 million out of thin air cash flow, they are nothing. Walking out of the Manhattan-style skyscraper, I felt it was time to get a car for myself and Shirley. A moment later, we arrived at the auto showroom district. Tommy, if a man wants to buy a car, what's the most exciting choice? I asked casually. The newly wealthy, commission-flushed Tommy's eyes glowed. Top-tier supercars, of course. Boss, there's an internal VIP exhibition for Koenigsegg on Newbury Street right now. Are you interested in checking it out? Koenigsegg? Those Swedish ghost cars that cost millions of dollars. I wouldn't have even dared to dream of them before. Even more ridiculous, Tommy told me the entry threshold for this internal show was extremely high. You had to verify at least $30 million in liquid assets to get in. Let's go. Take a look. With over $200 million lying in my card, buying a supercar is just like buying a cabbage, isn't it? We drove all the way to the Koenigsegg showroom. Coincidentally, the showroom was located on the first floor of the Starlight Building, a Boston landmark. Looking at those 4 giant letters on the roof, I suddenly remembered that the system had once rewarded me with 40 absolute shares in the Starlight Group. In other words, this skyscraper, including the entire Starlight Group, was nearly half my property. I was even more baller than that arrogant Vance family by 100 times. Entering the showroom, the manager stopped us to verify assets. I calmly handed over my black bank card. When the computer screen flashed a balance of $213 million in liquid funds, the manager's legs went weak. His attitude instantly became more respectful than a grandson's, and he handed over a black gold invitation card representing extreme prestige with both hands. In the center of the showroom, a sci-fi-looking, streamlined 4-seater supercar, world's only custom edition Koenigsegg Gemera, was quietly exuding the aura of a beast. Price, $20 million. While I was admiring this divine car, a shrill, biting female voice suddenly came from the side. Tommy, how did you sneak into a high-class place like this? Tommy turned his head, his face turning iron gray. It was a heavily made-up woman covered in designer brands, clinging to a middle-aged white man with a beer belly. This woman was none other than Jessica, the gold-digging ex-girlfriend who had cheated on Tommy a few days ago. Honey, he's the poor loser ex-boyfriend I told you about. He wouldn't even buy me a new iPhone, and now he's here pretending to be at a Koenigsegg show? It's hilarious. Jessica mocked shamelessly, her eyes full of disdain. Seeing Tommy clench his fists in utter humiliation, I let out a cold laugh. Slapping faces? That's my favorite thing. I stepped back half a pace, bowed slightly in an extremely professional and respectful gold medal assistant posture, and said loudly to Tommy, "Boss, are you satisfied with this car?" That single word boss left Tommy dazed, but he reacted instantly. I was setting the stage for him. Tommy suppressed his shock and pulled out his A-list Hollywood acting skills. He folded his arms, using a tone that was 30% dismissive and 70% nonchalant. "It's all right. How about we just buy it?" "Certainly, boss, but your Rolls-Royces and Ferraris in the Beverly Hills garage are already collecting dust. Are you sure you want to add a new one?" I cooperated fully, hyping his status to the moon. Tommy waved his hand with the aura of a true tycoon. "I'm bored of those old cars. Let's get something new to drive around." This dialogue left the gold digger Jessica and her rich sugar daddy stunned. "Keep acting. Just keep acting." Jessica sneered, gritting her teeth. "A $20 million car? You think a loser like him can afford it? Let's see how you finish this show." I ignored her and turned to the stunned salesperson, snapping my fingers. "Process the paperwork. You'll pay for this car in full on behalf of my boss." The staff member's voice was shaking with excitement as he immediately brought over the card machine. Under Jessica's wide-eyed, death-glaring gaze, I pulled the black card from my pocket and smoothly entered the PIN. Beep. Payment successful. $20 million has been received. The crisp electronic prompt was like a resounding, invisible slap to the woman's face. She was struck as if by lightning, staring at Tommy in a daze, her hand slipping weakly from the rich man's arm. A $20 million top-tier supercar, buying it in full without even blinking. She never dreamed that the poor loser she kicked away was actually a hidden billionaire tycoon. Her regret was eating her alive. Just as she was questioning her life choices, a suave man walked through the showroom doors. It was Ethan Shirley's uncle, Boston's top lawyer, and the vice president of the Starlight Group. "Sean, what are you doing here?" Ethan greeted me with a smile. I quickly shot him a look. "VP Ethan, I'm here accompanying President Tommy to look at cars." Ethan was incredibly sharp. Following my gaze to Tommy, he immediately understood I was helping a brother flex. He stepped forward and shook Tommy's hand with immense warmth. "Oh man, so it's President Tommy. My apologies for the late welcome." However, when Ethan's gaze swept over Richard, the man with the gold digger, he paused, his brow furrowing. "Aren't you a manager from one of our departments?" The rich man Richard saw Ethan and nearly lost his soul. His previously faked boss aura collapsed instantly. He bowed and scraped as he approached. "Vivid Ethan, I'm Richard from the sales department." Jessica was completely bewildered. "Honey, who is he?" "Bitch, shut up. This is the vice president of our Starlight Group." Richard was sweating bullets. Ethan's face darkened, and he shouted sternly, "How dare you, using the guise of a rich man to trick women outside, and you even dared to offend President Tommy? Do you think I don't know you're drowning in mortgage and car payments, and you have a wife and kids at home? You're fired. Get out of here right now." The truth was revealed. This thunderous reversal sent Jessica collapsing to the floor in shock. The successful man she had schemed to cling to was not only a penniless worker but a cheating scumbag with a family. And the man she had personally discarded was a billionaire mogul whom even the group VP had to address respectfully. Richard fell to his knees, weeping and clutching Ethan's leg for mercy, before finally fleeing like a stray dog. Meanwhile, the gold digger Jessica looked at Tommy with a gray, hopeless face, trying to squeeze out tears to win him back. Tommy gave her a cold, indifferent glance, didn't say a single word, and sat into the $20 million Koenigsegg. The showroom security rushed up without mercy and threw the green tea bitch out like trash. Watching this satisfying scene, I smiled and stroked the steering wheel of the supercar. "Vance family, your doomsday is coming soon."